Oh, how do I clip that? I'm working on it. You know, here's an old adage we haven't talked about in a while. Streaming is 90% technical issues, 1% actually streaming. The past, like, half hour has just been me trying to fix these gosh darn technical issues. And it's not working. And I don't know why it's not working. I mean, it works every once in a while, but like, it used to be just like, hey, you know, tap the button and it connects, no problem. There we go. And hit that, hit that, hit that. Alright, there we are. TCG Pocket. Hey, guess what? There was a new card set like a week or two ago, and I've just kind of been pushing it off. So it's now finally time to check out this new card set. Oh, hey, I got a trade in progress. I wonder who's trading me. Oh. Let's see. What do you... Oh, yeah, I can do that. I don't think I need that person anymore, but... Yeah. But yeah, no, I cannot... Even though, you know, I've done this tons of times before, connected my phone, used it for streaming, all that stuff. In the past few days, it's just not been working, and now all of a sudden it just would not connect, and it was driving me just a little bit crazy. But hey, we got it figured out, at least temporarily. Got my PC replaced because of the PSU issue. Play Game Snow. Oh, so you're gonna play Peak? Because that's our one news story today is Peak. It's such a good game. It really is. You gotta get the right group of people for it. Alright, I know pack opens in 17 minutes, whatever. Alright, let's open up some Mega Shiny. We'll open up like 10, 20 packs. I feel like I should move that over a little bit. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, so things I need for... I've already gotten, like, over half the pack. The big stuff I need is I need the Immersive, and I'm missing Shiny Charizard, or the Mega Charizard, presumably the Mega Gengar, and I think there's a Mega Slowbro. So that's what I'm looking for. I think I already have that Revavroom. It's a nice looking Revavroom, though. Something in the back here. Okay, there's the Gengar. Good. I needed that. I do not really care about the Shiny Charm. I know the big gimmick of this pack is that everything's about Shinies. I could care less. Pineapple hot dog sauce. I could care less about the shiny cards in this set. The Mew is cool, though. Of course, if we can get everything else in the set, that would be nice as well, but... I'm only missing like 20 things. I think it's less than that, even. Fortress, Jigglypuff... Okay, there's the Slowbro. I think we really just need... I have tried to Wonder Pick the Charizard so many times, and I just can't get it, no matter how much I try. Ruddigan, Trubbish... Yeah, no, I have gone for that Charizard. I also think I've only gotten one shiny so far. Oh, look at that Empoleon. Okay, I understand why Fione is there. Why Trubbish? Is it like they're cleaning up like pollution? Are they the solution to Earth's pollution? I love that. Also, I love that Diglett card. I think I have that Diglett card. It looks very familiar. I don't know, we got the Gengar, which I needed, and then we got the Slowpoke, which I needed. Now if I can just get the Charizard, then that'll be everything I need. So there's some good stuff. Okay, we're less than 10 away. It's just a question of can we get those last 10. Let's open another set. Okay, we got sparkles in at least 2 packs. Another slow bro. I'll take it. I actually don't know. See, here's the thing. I don't play, like, the competitive card game aspect of this, so I have no idea if any of the megas are any good. So far, from what it sounds like, none of the megas are actually that good. I could be wrong. You know, the meta. I just know people are not happy with the competitive part of this game. Nothing? Oh, I thought we were going to get something at the back of that. Okay, there's a Pineco. I think I have the Fortress. So I think that's both of them now. Lucha, Empoleon. I don't think I have the Dragonite. I think that's one I'm missing. I do have the Scizor. That was like the first pack I opened. Okay, I think maybe it's the next pack. Yeah, maybe it's the next pack that had sparkles. Chuminchino, Ponyta. Oh my god. Look at that Groudon. Oh, it's so good. I fucking love Groudon. Maybe my favorite legendary. Like, yes, it is definitely a nostalgia thing. But I love Groudon. And look at that art, man. I don't know if you've been on TikTok, but there's a Regigigas song going around right now about how their favorite Pokemon is Regigigas, and they only have, like, one good card. And, yeah, I get that. What? And that's scary. It knows, yeah, your TikTok thread knows a lot about you. TikTok is not dangerous because of the content it shows. It's dangerous because of the algorithm. And, like, what it's picking up on. Alright, I didn't get that much. I'm still missing a few things, you know. I'm missing the Mega Charizard X. Oh, yeah, there's a Manectric. I completely forgot there was a Manectric in this set. I'm missing the Mew, the Zoroark, just the normal. I have 2 of the immersives, but not the normal. I'm missing Dragonite, which I knew about, and I'm mixing Haxorus. But yeah, I have both the shiny Pineco and the shiny Fortress. And I got the Slowbro, the Milk Tank. I have 2 of the Reverooms, the Morpeko. Oh, and I didn't even realize I had a second one of those Groudons. It's a fighting type, which is weird. But that is a nice looking card, man. Let's see, anything in the Wonder Pick? Take another stab at this. I see the Wonder Pick, the Charizard in the Wonder Pick all the time. I just cannot get it. I've tried like 4 or 5 times, and I've never been lucky. There's the Reveroom. Another Groudon. Nah, let's not. I'll keep my eye out, though. W. Yeah. But yeah, that's the new pack, Shiny Mega. I mean, it's a pack. I know people have a lot of underlying issues with this game, mostly to do with the battle aspect, but as a collector, I mean, I'm still having fun. And I have not spent a single penny, which is, I think, the most important part. I don't know, you know, Pokemon Champions comes out in 2 weeks, and I know that's what everyone's going to be gravitating towards. I'll be honest, I don't really have much interest in Pokemon Champions, but I know some people really care. I mean, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. But yeah, Champions comes out on like the 8th, so in like 4 days. I'm just not a competitor. I'm a collector. I collect the Pokemon. You know, I do shiny hunting. At least, I did. I do not find shiny hunting in Legends ZA fun. I really don't. Alright, let me boot up, whatever it's called. Let me hit that, hit that. Ooh. Yeah, I'm just not really a battler. Like, I know about it. I used to do it back in, like, Gen 6. God, that was so long ago now. But nowadays, I just don't care. Battling doesn't really do it for me anymore. Part of it is because I'm not good at it. Oh, I played it. Have I played it, like, since the week it released? No. But I played it, but I did play it at the time. I had a decent time with it. I definitely wasn't as negative as some other people are. Alright, so for the show tonight, we have one news story, which is barely a news story, but I wanted to talk about it anyways, because I wanted to give a shout out to its developers, who I'm just big fans of. And then after that, we have a bunch of stuff for WIBE. We got 2 food things. We got 2 episodes of Invincible. And then, of course, the big thing is, we have the Mario Galaxy movie. I'm going to do both a non-spoiler and a spoiler section, so just, like, be aware of that. But I'm going to do non-spoiler first. And then, if we have time, we'll do 2 books, but you never know. The other big thing is tonight we are doing Champions Road in Super Mario 3D World. I have never beaten Champions Road before. I have for the past, 12, 14 years, I have tried to beat this game, and I never have. I have never beaten Champions Road. Even back when we Let's Played this game back in, 2021, 2022? I think it was 21. I tried to beat Champions Road, and we failed. We went for, 2 hours, and I just couldn't do it. So, this is, one of those levels in a Mario game that I have never been able to beat. I would not say it's the hardest level in any Mario game ever. But I've never beaten it before. So my goal is, we're going to go for hopefully 2 hours tonight. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, we'll see. And if we can beat Champions Road, great. If we don't, maybe we'll try again next week. I think we can do it in 2 hours. God, I hope we can. Again, I've been doing this for years now. I would say I'm better at 3D World than ever before, but if you saw me do the Puzzle House last week, clearly that's not true. So with that, let me get right back into things. Let me hit that. Hit that, and here we are. Back in 3D World after such a long time, and it's time to try Champions Road. Watch me just get it on the first try. Wouldn't that be fucking funny? Now, we're using Rosalina, not just because of, the Galaxy movie, but because Rosalina is the best character. And her spin jump makes a lot of things easier. Not everything, but it makes at least some things easier. We have 55 lives. My hope is that we can beat this within those 55 lives, because normally, I know how to get infinite lives in this game. Hopefully we don't have to do that, but if at some point we do fuck up, didn't beat it on my first try. If we do fuck up enough, and I have to go get more lives, we will do that. But I hope we can do this in 54 54 now. I hope we can. We shall see. Because usually I go and get infinite lives before this. But 50's enough. Hopefully. I just did the final challenge in Super Mario Wonder, the final gauntlet, that only took me like 20. And I don't even think it took that. It probably took me like 12. But yeah, it didn't take me more than like 20 lives. And that one's also a pain in the ass. But at least that one gives you checkpoints, which makes it a lot easier. Plus, you can also have ghosts help you out. And there are some people who have played the final gauntlet like 100 times. Yeah, because I did 100% 3D World. Or not, Super Mario Wonder. I did 100% that game off stream this week. Pretty good game. Pretty good game. I don't actually have it in the show notes. Maybe if we get to the miscellaneous section, then we'll talk about it. But, you know, we mostly talked about Wonder last week. I don't really have much more to say about it. I do kind of wish they had added some new level, like, more new, like, a new, like, challenge. But I guess that's what the Captain Toad courses are for. Yeah, whatever. So, originally, when I came into this day for gaming news, originally, if I had done the show yesterday, I had nothing on the gaming news docket. I was just like, you know, the big thing this week is the Mario Galaxy movie. That's all people are going to talk about, like, why even do a news thing this week? And then, you know, as I was thinking about it, I kept coming back to the one story, which is about the developers of Peak Landfall Games responding to some criticism they got. And I was like, you know what? I do want to talk about that. Because it was April Fool's this week, and as a result, April Fool's is also Landfall Day, which is the day where we celebrate the studio Landfall and all the great things they've done. And, of course, in the news story, we will also talk about the big announcements at Landfall Games, or at least, you know, what they did announce. So we will talk about those, obviously. But I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's put this one news story on the docket. Why not? I'm interested in it enough, you know. I always praise up Aggro Crab in Landfall, specifically Aggro Crab, because they've both been on my Game of the Year lists. They're the only, like, singular studio to have been on my Game of the Year list twice in a row. Because, like, yeah, Nintendo makes my list every year. But most of the time, it's like EDP 6 and EDP 8. You know, it's different studios within Nintendo. Aggro Crab is the only studio to make it as, you know, themselves. Aggro Crab made it for Another Crab's Treasure 2 years ago, and they made it for Peak last year. And they may make it, you know, depending on how good Crash Out Crew is, they may make it again this year. I have not ruled that out of the cards yet. So that's our only news story. It's hopefully, you know, in and out real quick. Hopefully I'm able to get to the, you know, consistently able to get to the next part of the level for that. I've always struggled with this game, man. Just wait until we get to the bounce part, where we have to bounce off enemies. I'm fucking terrible at that. This part also sucks. This part is so much harder without Rosalina. At least with Rosalina, we can take like a second in the air to like pause. Without her, oh my gosh. And we're not going to do power-ups or anything. I know people, at least back in the day, recommended a Tanuki suit. It sucks having to go get the Tanuki suit, then, you know, play the level, you get 2 runs, and then you have to restart, get the Tanuki suit again. It's not worth it. Just use Rosalina. But this is why we're not 100%ing the game, you know, because beating every level with every character is the biggest pain in the ass ever. And despite this being like my 4th or 5th playthrough of this game, I ain't doing that. Alright, so for our first story, and our only story, this comes from Rebecca Valentine at IGN, who did a write-up on this. Even though everything that happened on Twitter, they did a really good write-up on it. I recommend you go check it out yourself. But this is all about the developer Landfall Games, who is one of the contributing studios that made the game Peak. And someone accused Landfall Game of being lazy, that they have a lazy development cycle, and why aren't they putting out more updates to the game peak? You know, treating it like a live service, like you would Fortnite or Marathon or any of those others. And so in a response to the tweet, developers Landfall, right, that called them a lazy dev cycle, Landfall's official account clapped back saying, "Neither us or our co-developer AgroCrab are live service studios. Any update is a bonus, not a right." So of course all of this comes in the wake of Landfall Day, which is Landfall's annual bevy of announcements on April 1st, during which an exceedingly silly April Fool's Day features that has players kicking each other off mountains instead of helping them climb up was revealed in peak. So they showed off this new feature where you could hurt and not help your friends, and someone called them out and said like, "Oh, you guys are being lazy." And so they responded, you know, saying that neither us or AgroCrab are live service studios. Any update is a bonus, not a right. And I 100% agree with them. Peak, the game, was never promised to be a live service game. This is not Fortnite. This is not Marathon. You know, this is not Concord or Highfall. Highfall was the other one that got shut down recently. Right, this is not that. Peak was a game jam project put together by these two dev teams as just like, hey, let's put this project together, let's have fun with it, and it just happened to blow up. And because it blew up, because it sold so well, the developers decide to keep supporting the project. And so I would say they're anything but lazy. But of course, some people just cannot help themselves. And so they got called out, and obviously AgroCrab and Landfall, they can clap back, right? Like, I know Wendy's gets all the credit for being able to clap back. Other people clap back as well. And AgroCrab and Landfall are both great at it. Of course, someone responded to their clap back, being like, "But why? Why is it not a live service game? It's an online game for $10. It would be nice to get new biomes or features. That's how the gaming industry works these days." And then Landfall responded to that, "We have done a lot of updates with biomes and features. Heart emoji, and we have at least one more. The industry used to be no updates. Just release as is. We have gone way beyond that." And again, I completely agree with Landfall Games. That, yeah, they did go above and beyond. The fact that we just got an update, you know, outside of the whole April Fool's Day update, we also did get a customization update that allows you to customize your peak exploration. And it adds a lot of fantastic customization features that, like, you didn't need to have in the game, but it's really a nice quality of life thing. AgroCrab in Landfall Games listened to their community. You know, when people found a speedrunning glitch in their game, well, you know, developers' pride says, hey, we have to patch out the speedrunning glitch. Guess what? They left in a version of it because people did like it. You know, they're a developer that listens to the community, and as a result, Peak is part of this new genre called friend slop. Admittedly, friend slop is not a great name. I do hope that one day we do get a better name than friend slop, because I think saying that, oh, it's a multiplayer game, or saying it's a friend multiplayer game, doesn't really describe the experience of playing a game like Peak, or that one Wizard Tower game, or We Burglin' Gnomes, or Last One Out of Wormtown. You know, like, yes, these are multiplayer games, but they're more than that. There's a certain, you know, jankiness, a certain camaraderie that you get out of them. Basically, my definition of friend slop has always been any game that Smitty will make a video on. You know, it's not everything Smitty makes a video on, because he does a lot of shit, But if it's Smitty and the gang, you know, sitting down to play one of these games, and, you know, they're just kind of goofing off with each other, that's a friend slop game. And yeah, Peak, and you know, instead of like being like afraid, like, oh, we don't want to be friend slop, no, they embraced it. They're organic, homemade friend slop. You know, they've spoken out against AI, which is fantastic. Again, Aggro Crab and Landfall games have my, let's say, undying respect. I don't want to, that's not exactly the word I'm looking for, but, you know, I support them. I've supported basically all their games from both studios over the years. And yeah, Peak is another great example. So no, they don't owe players any new updates, but yet they've still continued updating the game and put out some fantastic updates, and we know we're going to get at least one more update. So yeah, I commend Landfall and Aggro Crab for being more than generous with the amount of content they have put in the game. I mean, they've added, what, 2 new biomes? They added a desert and a jungle biome. They added a ton of, you know, new items and customization features. That, you know, they added new photo modes. They messed around with the physics engine. They've just done so much to make the game a more enjoyable experience. They did a whole concert where, you know, we always think of Fortnite when I think of, like, in-game concerts. They did do a concert. They did also do a Fortnite collab, which was a little weird, mainly because the Fortnite skins were more expensive than the actual game itself. But that's more of an Epic Games thing than it is an Aggro Crab thing. Bing Bong has shown up in a bunch of games. I want to, you know, I literally own a stuffed Bing Bong. They sold a Bing Bong plush. I bought that thing immediately. But they also, wait, do I have it? Wait. Where is it? Let me, give me 1 second. Oh, there it is. Look! Oh no! Green screen! I'm invisible! Oh no. Oh god, I'm still trying to play. No, I'm still invisible. Whatever. You get the point. I had a Bing Bong made. I was gonna use it for something and I never did. Oh god, I keep fucking up. No, I commend Aggro Crab for all the work they've done. I think Bing Bong is in Slay the Spire 2. I know he's a back bling in Fortnite. He's also being added to some other game as well. They announced on that got announced on April Fool's Day. Someone made a joke about Peak. And they were like, oh yeah, you know, we're going to put Peak in our game. And they're like, okay, no, that's an April Fool's Day joke. But we are getting but we're going to put in a Bing Bong Easter egg. Because guess what? People like Bing Bong. What can I say? He's funny. He's just a funny little guy. So yeah, I think Aggro Crab, you know, they clearly... I don't know if they always had other ideas, but they, you know, when their game blew up, they clearly came out, they supported it, and we know we're going to get at least one more update. They've already talked about how they're going to be adding a new biome to replace the Caldera? Whatever the final biome is. My hope has always either been a city or a candy island. I think doing a candy land would be a lot of fun. But also I could see like a city with like an abandoned city. I think that would also be cool. So either one of those would be nice. My guess is the final, you know, the game... I saw someone complaining about this. And being like, oh, you know, I've been playing this game for years now. Aggro Crab did not put nearly as much support. Landfall is failing to support this game. Like, bitch, the game hasn't even been out a year now. Peak released June 16th of last year. What do you mean, years of support? Like, fuck right off. But I could see the final update coming out on the 1-year anniversary. Final update, like 1 or 2 more bug patch updates, and then they just call it a day. Because here's the other thing. They're also moving on to other projects. right? Aggro Crab is moving on to their next game, Crash Out Crew, which is coming out at some point later this year. I don't think we have an official release date yet. I actually did not look that up. Unless it's already out, but I don't think it's out. Nah, it just says coming soon on Steam. But yeah, Aggro Crab has another game in development. Meanwhile, Landfall Games, while on Landfall Day, you know, they announced Kicking and Peak. They announced console ports of both Haste and Content Warning. They did not announce a new thing, but you know they're working on something. Like, obviously they're working on something else. But I will say, console ports of Content Warning and Haste are fantastic news. If you have not played either of those games, Content Warning is basically Landfall Games' version of, like, Lethal Company, or not Schedule 1, what's it called? What's the one where you play as, like, the little people, and Repo? Is that the game? Yeah, basically, it's their version of, like, Repo or Lethal Company. However, I'm pretty sure Content Warning predates both of those games, because I think Content Warning was, you know, more inspired by, like, something like Phasmophobia, but it's got a similar-ish vibe. It's one of the, again, it is also technically a friend slop game, but it's a good time. I have not played it since it released. Like, I think Peak had much more sticking power than Content Warning, but it's cool it's getting a PC port, or a console port. The other one, however, Haste, I highly recommend Haste. You might have seen Haste on TikTok. Yeah, hey, this is video games. This Week in Gaming. That guy, if you ever, it's like Jay the Frog or something like that. If you've ever seen one of his videos, he uses Haste as his background gameplay. You know, in the same way that I'm using Mario right now as mine, he uses Haste as his background. And Haste is a great game. I actually never played it I never bought it on PC because I was waiting for it to come to Switch. Because Switch is where I played Tabs and where I played Cluster Truck the second time. You know, I've been waiting for Haste to come to Switch. So of course, you know, the moment it came to Switch, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this. That's more of a me thing, though. Because I'm just not much of a PC gamer, what can I say? You know, maybe if I owned a Steam Deck, this would be a different story, but I'm not. I don't really think, I don't know. I'm curious about, like, the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine, but with how expensive everything is, I don't think I'll be getting one. Because you'd better believe the Steam Machine was on my radar. But if it's looking to be, you know, potentially this, what, $600 or $900 price, excuse me. I don't know. But hey, Haste is on consoles. It's on, I think Content Warning is Switch in Switch 2. But I think Haste is Switch 2 only. But I highly recommend you pick up Haste. You know, especially if you played Cluster Truck back in the day. From what it seems, Haste is just Cluster Truck, but better. I mean, they're obviously different games. But yeah, Haste seems really good. And I'm excited to, you know, actually put some time into it. And then, again, there is also the rumor that, you know, I want to say they've at least talked about bringing Peak to consoles. Again, if it happens in June, I wouldn't be surprised. If they announce, hey, Peak is coming to consoles in June, if it's going to have crossplay, I also would not be surprised, because we do know that, you know, Aggro Crab and Landfall worked with Fortnite. Fortnite created the crossplay tools, so I would not be surprised. You brought back the milk, but it's been 14 years. Your child is all grown up. I want his college tuition money now. Our son Dan Smith is going to BYU, and you better believe we're supporting him. But we can't pay those crazy Mormon prices. All I could think about were names from the Key and Peele bit. Is it weird that that's my go-to names nowadays? Is just names from the Key and Peele bit? Like, anything I need a name for, my go-to is just Debrickashaw Ferguson. Couldn't find the store. I have navigation skills of Zorro. Wait, college funds. Hang on, I forgot the eggs while I was at. Not this again. But yeah, no, so Landfall Day this year was not as exciting as it has been other years. Again, some years they've literally just announced like full-on new games. But it's not like it was bad. Again, Haste coming to consoles is a big deal. I don't know if I'll even get around to playing the Peak update. I just think it is cool, and yeah, them adding like kick features. I mean, again, it'll make a good Smitty video. Oh god, this is the reason why I hate this level. This part right here with the ants, and the part that comes right after this with the piranha plants is awful. God, this level's gonna suck. Ooh, oh my gosh. I've got a Baja Cabo Citrus. Ooh. Mess me up. But yeah, so at the end of the day, with this story, I'm excited for whatever Landfall Games and Peak have coming up next. You know, that new update, that new biome, I'll be there to check it out. Hopefully it's a lot of fun. Hopefully it's not as unbalanced as when they added the jungle. Oh my god, when the jungle first came out, oh, we struggled so much. So much with that jungle. It was such a pain in the ass. The Mesa also was a struggle, but they fixed that one pretty quick, if I remember correctly. The jungle took them a little while. And that's why I guess there's going to be like a, bug patch or two right afterwards. But yeah, my prediction, Candy Island coming out in June. I think that's a safe prediction. We'll see, obviously. But go play Haste. Go play Haste on Nintendo Switch 2. It is so worth it. It's such a good game. From what I've heard. I liked the demo, and yeah, I will be playing it, so maybe we'll talk about it next week. Gosh, dang it. With that, I guess that takes us into WIBE. So for WIBE, we have a bunch of stuff. We got 2 food things. We got McDonald's, and we've got Jack in the Box. So we'll talk about both of them. We got two episodes of Invincible, because last week we kind of ran out of time. So we'll talk about episode 4, boo, and episode 5, yay. So we got that, and then we do have the Mario Galaxy movie. I'm going to do non-spoilers, and then I'm going to do spoilers. I don't know how long we're going to talk about it. We'll see. But I am curious, because I do have some thoughts on it. I definitely do. And then, if we've got time, if we're still under 2 hours, I got 2 books. We'll talk about the books, I guess. If we have more time, maybe I'll talk about, like, Mario Wonder, or... God, turnips this week in Animal Crossing were awful. And I lost, like, 150k. Yeah, turnips were bad this week. But I'm putting, like, 1 million into them next week. AKA tomorrow. So, yeah. We've been at this for, what, like half an hour now? More or less. Alright, let me blow my nose. that is the easiest part. Just killing those 3 Magic Koopas. That is so easy. Immediately afterwards, I get my ass kicked. But the Magic Koopas aren't bad. I know they give us that Piranha Plant. I don't think we actually need that. Like, yeah, it just requires us to wait a little longer. But it doesn't seem like time's really an issue. This part, however... And it's weird, because like, right there, I just tried to spin to kill those ants. And it didn't work, but it worked on the previous set. So, and same thing happened last time, so I don't entirely get those ants. We're halfway through our lives. I don't know. I will say probably I'll be watching the Backrooms movie. And the only reason I'm sort of interested is because it's the guy who's been doing all the YouTube shorts. You know, not YouTube shorts, but like he's been doing the YouTube videos. Kid's like 19 years old. He's pretty young. And they're just fully letting him direct the movie. And I give them credit for that. That, you know, he has a vision, and Hollywood actually is giving him the credit. It's Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think, in it. And yeah, he's great. So yeah, I don't like horror movies, you know. Usually I only see like 1 or 2 a year at that. And Markiplier's Iron Lung would normally have covered that. But I will probably check it out. Assuming, you know... yeah, Kane Pixels, there you go. I couldn't remember the name. But yeah, assuming it gets like good reviews, because I don't know if I'll go to like a midnight screening. But I could see like doing one like on like a Saturday or a Sunday. I don't know. See, my thing is, I'm one of those people who like, I like the Backrooms as more of like an idea than like the actual Backrooms. Because the Backrooms eventually just like became like another version of the SCP Foundation, and I find that boring. I like the original Backrooms post as like a, hey, look at this weird liminal space, and hey, there's probably something else here, and it might be watching you. I like that Backrooms. Like, once you actually start seeing the monsters, and you get to like pool rooms and, you know, endless apartment buildings, it kind of loses some of that magic. Honestly, it's the same thing for Exit 8. If people like it, maybe I'll check it out, but I don't know. I did play Exit 8, the game. It was whatever. Like, I get what it was going for. I think I beat it. That sounds right. Because it's not actually like that scary. This part, I hate this part. No matter what I do, I can never get this part of the level figured out. It just never works how I want it to. God. And one wrong move and we get killed. Oh my gosh. Yep. Fuck. But yeah, no, again, I might check out Exit 8, but it's not like top of my priority list or anything. I actually don't know what movies I'm looking forward to. It's got Exit 8 has some neat ideas. I mean, I like the idea of like, I don't know if you've ever seen a speedrun for it, but I think the speedruns are very interesting. They're so short as well. But like the idea of like you're just looking for these quick little anomalies and then you move on. It's not a bad game. It's very basic. But then again, a lot of games that become popular are very basic. Now the one that did suck, it's not similar, it's not dissimilar to Exit 8, but it's not similar at all, is that one where you're trying to like walk down the street and like, oh, the car explodes, or the lamppost falls on you, or the sign falls on you, or, you know, there's a bomb in the trash can. I don't remember what that game was called or anything. That was fucking annoying. And I get, like, the idea is like, oh, when you're supposed to be watching a YouTuber play it and watch them rage at it. And, like, yeah, sure, I guess that could be entertaining. But if you, like, actually try to play it, nah, it's just annoying. Any new anime? No, not really. I know I said I was going to do Dress Up Darling like a month ago, and then I just never did. I rewatched the first season. And then I watched, like, the first episode of the second season and got distracted. Oh, God, I'm the worst. There was something else I was going to watch as well that I don't remember. I did read a little bit of manga, but that's not important. Alright, let's talk about McDonald's, shall we? So, I don't know if you remember, but last year, the biggest movie of last year was K-Pop Demon Hunters. And it was funny because in the lead up to that movie, Netflix and Sony were like, hey, does anybody want to buy, like, the toy rights to this movie? And everybody said no. And then the movie came out, and it became, like, a massive hit. You know, just, it was, again, the biggest movie of last year. And so, like, immediately, like, you know, the movie comes out on a Friday. By, Sunday, Monday, there was this big thing about, like, oh, well, we've got to auction off the toy rights now. You know, now Mattel, Hasbro, and, you know, Funko are all want the toy rights to K-Pop Demon Hunters. And while they got Funkos out, basically nothing else did come out. All the toys are still, like, 6 months away. However, there is one other place that is now trying to capitalize on the K-Pop Demon Hunter craze, you know, now that they've won 2 Oscars. And that is McDonald's. So this week, McDonald's put out 2 K-Pop Demon Hunter meals. They put out a Saja Boys meal and a Huntrix meal. I did not try the Saja Boy meal. I'll just be straight up. It's a breakfast thing. I couldn't really be bothered. I don't do McDonald's for breakfast. I don't know. I've seen this thing on TikTok of people, like, trying an McGriddle for the first time. McGriddles are good. They're fun. Alright, I'll see you around, Anti-Anonymous. But outside of that, I just don't care about a breakfast meal. I did, however, try the Huntrix meal. So this is the girl group meal. It comes with a 10-piece nugget, McShaker fries for the ramyeon, a meal collectible, a special box, and then a drink. And so what this meal is, so you've got the McNuggets, and they have 2 sauces. They've got a Hunter sauce and a Demon sauce. The Hunter sauce is just a sweet chili sauce. You know, it's just a basic sweet chili sauce, nothing special there. I feel like both these sauces are just sauces that McDonald's has done before. But, you know, they just put a new label on them. And then the Demon sauce, it's like a bright, not even a bright purple, but it's like a purple color, which is very weird. But it actually isn't bad. It's like a spicy mustard sauce, which it does not look like, you know, when you think mustard, you think yellow. This does not look like a mustard at all, but it is a mustard sauce. And it's actually probably the better of the 2. I would say the mustard sauce, like, it looks like that, like, 90s, like, Easy Squeeze ketchup that was, like, purple. Probably not that as purple as that Easy Squeeze ketchup or, like, the Shrek ketchup. But it's, like, going for, like, the same thing. And yeah, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's definitely the better of the 2, I'll give you that. But then again, I'm just a boring sweet and sour kind of guy. But I had to try them both, so I did. And then the ramyeon McShaker fries. I will stand by the McShaker fries are a good idea, because it's something that, you know, allows McDonald's to do, like, flavored fries, but it also, like, keeps the cost down. At least I like to think it does. I know some people will argue that no, it's just putting more manual labor into the consumer's hands. And I can see that, but I also feel like it probably, at least I'd like to hope it's cheaper. Everything in fast food is so expensive nowadays. But it also, like, oh, you know, maybe you're trying, like, the dill pickle ones, and you don't actually like dill pickle flavoring. You can choose how much seasoning goes on the fries. So that is, you know, it allows for customization without, you know, having to, like, make a whole new batch every time. Again, McShaker fries are just, I think, a good idea. I get why, you know, they're big in Canada, and it was only a matter of time until they brought them to the States. This is the second time they've done it. And yeah, so you got ramyeon. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but yeah, it's ramen flavors, and they're not bad. Honestly, they're pretty good as well. I definitely think that they're more like savory, whereas the pickle was going for something more like sour. And it's also probably more umami as well. I doubt there's any actual MSG in it because, you know, America is MSG phobic. But no, these are decent. And yeah, if I were to recommend anything from this, it would be the McShaker fries. They're pretty good. You can just get them on their own if you want. You do not have to get the K-pop Demon Hunter meal. So yeah, they're not bad. You get a Huntrix, like, collectible, they say meal collectible when the thing I pulled from their website. It's literally just a pack of cards. I've got them both right here. There's mine had a Remy? Remy? No, it's definitely Remy. It had her, and then it's got a derpy card that says hello friend, and it's got a code on the back. What the fuck that code actually does, I don't actually think it does anything right now. Oh, shit. Yeah, I don't think the code actually does anything at the moment. But hey, it's there. I don't know. Really, for like the in a lot of these other meals, they've done like, oh, here's the like little like nugget buddies, or here's the Minecraft collaboration. These are just cards. Clearly, this is something they just threw together fairly quickly to be like, oh, hey, we can, you know, we can make 2 collectible cards real quick and throw them in the meal. Like, that's something easy and simple to do. It's definitely the worst part of this whole thing. Other than that, so on top of the meal, there is one other thing that they do sell separately. I mean, I'm sure you could get it as a drink replacement. But they're doing a Derpy McFlurry. So this is a McFlurry, but it's got wild berry flavored popping pearls. I'll be honest, I mean, they just kind of tasted like blueberries. Like, if you told me, hey, this is a McFlurry with blueberries in it, I'd probably believe you, because admittedly, I don't think I've ever had like the popping pearls or the bobas in like a frozen drink before. And so as a result, when the things like freeze, they just turn into little like balls of ice. So if you told me like, oh, these are just frozen blueberries, because they do kind of crunch, I wouldn't have been surprised. They do kind of just taste like frozen blueberries. So, I mean, it wasn't, like, bad or anything. It didn't taste like how you would expect it to taste. Again, I'm not a good person to judge. I've only ever had, like, one boba tea, and that was, I don't know, like 9 years ago. So yeah, I'm not a good judge on that. Gosh dang it, I stopped to blow my nose and I fucked it up. We're almost out of lives. God, to think I could do this in 55 lives. Oh god. So I do think we are just going to play until game over. Like, I think that, you know, we could, like, oh, at 1 or 2 lives left, we could just exit the level. I think we'll probably just play until game over. I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it. I don't... Because there are some games, I think specifically 3D Land, where if you game over, you can actually never get 100% completion. That because of how the game's designed, there's like a check in the game to check, have you ever gamed overed? And if it says yes, then you can't get it. Like, you can't get one of the medals, which is fucking weird. But 3D World was... It's kind of like Link's Awakening, where, you know, you get locked out of the secret ending if you die once. Which I have got... Man, I've played Link's Awakening so many times, I've gotten that secret ending. So yeah, with the McDonald's stuff, I wouldn't say it's really worth it. Like, if you're already going to McDonald's for something, I'd maybe recommend trying out the McShaker fries. But outside of that, just to go for, like, the K-pop Demon Hunter collectible, it's not really worth it. There's really nothing that special about it. Nothing that makes it that worth it. So, at least that's my thoughts on things. I don't know. I've had worse. But it is McDonald's in a post-COVID world. Speaking of things that got fucked post-COVID, Jack in the Box. So Jack in the Box, a while, you know, way back in like, what, 2018, maybe even earlier, they started doing tiny tacos. And I have never actually been a fan of tiny tacos. Even though I like Jack in the Box tacos, sure, they're messy, they're greasy, they're cheap as hell, but I like Jack in the Box tacos. However, Jack in the Box mini tacos have never done it for me. There's just something about taking the tacos and miniaturizing them, where, like, they change ingredients, or more likely, like, the tacos are just assembled there, and then they're, like, flash fried, whereas the mini tacos are just delivered to the restaurant pre-frozen, and then put in a fryer. So as a result, you know, they have to have more preservatives in them. That's the more likely scenario. And as a result, I have never liked the mini tacos. I've tried them like multiple times over the years. And no matter what, they've just... The normal tacos are just better. And usually they're... Again, you can get like 2 for... I mean, it used to be 2 for $1. It's probably now like 2 for $2. But that's still not terrible by any means. So yeah, I've never cared for the Jack in the Box mini tacos. This time, however, Jack in the Box has introduced Smashed Jack sliders. So these are basically mini smash burgers. They've, you know, miniaturized the smash burger and made it into a slider. And they're definitely, yeah, they're definitely a mini version of the Smash Jack. I'll give them that. They do taste like a mini smash burger. This isn't like the taco. No, these things were definitely, you know, put on their, whatever, their grill. Let's just call it a grill. I know that's not what they actually use. On their burners, I guess. Like, these are, yeah, the smash sliders are more equivalent to than the tiny tacos are to the main tacos. But here's the thing. I remember when the Smash Jack first released. I think it was near the end of 2020. It was, yeah, right when COVID was wrapping up. And at the time, I was a big fan of the Smash Jack. The Smash Jack. I thought, like, oh, this was like a fresh take on Jack in the Box. It tasted different. It tasted really good. I really liked it at the time. And then it went up in price by like $4. And the quality definitely did not go up with that price. And it just, after a while, like, it was one of those things where it was like, when it was the new hotness, it was great. But after we had it for a while, it was kind of like, okay, I get it. You know, this is actually kind of boring. So I've not had a Smash Jack in a while. And having these sliders again, yeah, they definitely taste like the Smash Jack. But I don't think that's really anything to be, like, proud of, per se. I was not too impressed with these sliders. I mean, maybe if you're a fan... if you're a fan of the Smash Jack, maybe you will really like these. But for me, eh. And again, the price. So you can get a Smash Jack slider munchie meal. It comes with 2 sliders, 2 tacos, a thing of seasoned curly fries, a surprise cup and pen, which we'll talk about, a small drink, and you can add a cookie for $1. And the overall cost of that, $14 without the cookie. That's, again, Jack in the Box is fucking expensive. I bet you can get a normal Smash Jack for, you know, a combo for probably cheaper than that. I feel like they, like, because, okay, so that's the normal Smash Jack. You know, it's the munchie meal. That's the one there you're, like, bringing up to the top. They do also have a Smash Jack combo, which comes with 3 sliders and no tacos. But it's like 50 cents cheaper. I would honestly rather have that, like the 3 sliders and the no taco. But also, your tacos are cheap as hell. Why the fuck am I not getting 3 of them and just the tacos for another 50 cents? You could totally do that for another 50 cents. Again, Jack in the Box used to be like the burger equivalent of like Taco Bell, and they just keep upping their prices, and their quality has not, if anything, it's gotten worse. Like, no wonder they're a dying business. I will miss them when they're gone, but that's more for the memories than for what they currently are. But yeah, 14, this is not worth it for $14. Now, you can get a singular Smash Jack slider on its own for $3.50. So what? Okay, let's take this all. Okay, tacos, $2 for $1. $2. Let's say $2 for $1.50. Then you have $7 for the 2 sliders. Let's say it's probably like a medium curly fry. That's probably $2.50. That gets us up to what? That gets us up, what, to like $11 at most. You know, drinks another $1 or $2. And yet, oh, I guess they're probably charging for the stupid surprise cup. So what the fuck is the surprise cup? So recently, Chick-fil-A, which is a place we don't talk about because I don't go to, but they recently did a promotion where you could get like these Chick-fil-A plastic cups, where it's like a plastic cup and it has like a chance of getting a gold cup that got you Chick-fil-A for a year. So when I saw this, like, oh, it comes with like a surprise cup with a pen, I thought, oh, this is going to be like a plastic Jack in the Box cup. To be fair, I think when Halloween came around, they did do a plastic Halloween cup. So I kind of figured this was going to be something similar to that. No, the surprise cup is just a fucking paper cup that they, at least where I went, they put ketchup and hot sauce into. Like, it wasn't even like a cup for your drink. It was just like a cheapo, like, plastic cup that you're not even supposed to use, or, you know, paper cup. So it's not even plastic, it's paper. And then at the bottom, it had like this little like Easter egg inside of it. And then when you open up the little Easter egg, it has a pen. So I'm literally holding it right now. I have a pen that says Jack's Famous Buttermilk Ranch Dip. So this is like, have you ever seen like those mini brand toys? You know, capitalism eventually ate its own tail and started selling mini brands to children. This kind of feels like that, where it's like a little pen that says Jack in the Box on it, and it's their famous ranch dipping sauce. This is fucking stupid. I'm sure I'll throw this away with everything else. You know, it's more plastic for the landfill. But yeah, that's their surprise cup. Oh, wow. So surprising. Like, at least the plastic cup they gave at Halloween was actually like a, hey, you know, this actually makes a good thing for, like, milk. Like, it's a good size for, like, milk. This is fucking nothing. So, whatever. Jack in the Box disappoints again. I don't even know why I keep going back. I mean, there's a reason they stopped doing Jack in the Box on Face Jam. I'm sure that's not true anymore, but I know at the time they, like, intentionally had to stop doing Jack in the Box because of how shit they were. And yeah, I don't blame them. But I'm sure in a month or two we'll talk about him again. Because with all that negativity about the Smash Jack slider, they do also have a Dr. Pepper Strawberries and Cream Shake. So in this show, we've talked about other Dr. Pepper shakes. I know I think Whataburger had a Dr. Pepper shake, and then later on they had a Dr. Pepper Blackberry shake. Well, Jack in the Box got the Dr. Pepper Strawberries and Cream. And as a shake goes, it's not bad. Honestly, the strawberry flavor I feel like was barely there. I didn't even have any sort of reaction to it. I couldn't even tell. But you know, it's definitely like the Whataburger Dr. Pepper shake definitely was a lot stronger on the Dr. Pepper flavor. Whereas this one's a little lighter, but no, this wasn't bad at all. You know, if for some insane reason you decide to go to Jack in the Box, this is the one thing I'd maybe recommend getting. This was not bad. You know, if you like Dr. Pepper Strawberries and Cream, yeah, no, this was decent in my opinion. But then again, Jack in the Box can usually do shakes. Like, they're usually actually pretty decent at shakes. And they try out different things. Like, you know, last month I was praising them for matcha, even if I didn't really actually like that matcha shake. God, I was about to fumble that so hard. So yeah, Dr. Pepper Strawberry and Cream Shake, not too bad. Definitely not going to have it again probably before it goes out, because I'd probably get the Derpy McFlurry again before I go back to Jack in the Box. But hey, you know, that is a thing. That is totally an option. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. That's my two food things. Honestly, pretty standard foodstuffs. Nothing special there at all. Ooh. Alright, let's talk about Invincible. So we had an episode of Invincible last week, and then we have one this week. We did not talk about it last week, so we're going to talk about last week's episode, and we'll talk about this week's. So, our first episode, Season 4, Episode 4, Herm, was a continuation on the Damien Darkblood stuff. So, if you remember, at the end of last season, they reintroduced Damien Darkblood, and we're like, hey, we're going to do a Damien Darkblood episode. And this is something that didn't happen in the comics, and Robert Kirkman came out and was like, yeah, the Damien Darkblood was something we wanted to revisit in the comics, but we kind of ran out of time to do it. You know, it was one of the cut storylines from the comics, and now, you know, we've got more time in the show, so we're going to do it in the show. At the time, I was like, okay, you know, not a bad idea. You know, reusing some of that content, if you know, there's a story there and there's potential, sure. But I was also kind of wary, like, hey, is the show doing more original stuff a good idea? Because I will be honest, a lot of the things they have changed from the comics, I think are really good changes. Everything they've done with Debbie in the show has been almost universally praised. Amber, on the other hand, has not been universally praised. Personally, I really like the changes. I like as someone who has actually read the comics, I know most of the people bitching about Amber have never read a comic in their lives, but as someone who has actually read the comics, no, I liked the changes with Amber, I love the changes with Debbie. But you know, doing like some more original stuff, I understand the hesitation. And then the episode came out, and the hesitation was correct, because Season 4, Episode 4 is now the worst rated episode in the show's history. And rightfully kind of so. So we come off Episode 3 last week, which was all about, you know, Titan and the Order, or the Fist, or whatever they were called. And, you know, as they try to fight off the dragon again. And, like, that episode in Season 3 where they try to bust Multipole out of jail was, I want to say, previously considered the worst episode of the show. And was, I don't want to say filler episode, because filler is, in my opinion, a thing that only exists in anime. Only anime has filler episodes. And that a lot of people use filler episodes to describe things that aren't actually filler. But it's probably, the whole subplot with Titan is the most the show gets to feeling like a filler episode. Even though, again, some of that stuff was not in the comics either. And, like, they've definitely expanded on things. But yeah, this Damon Darkblood episode is that but worse. I would describe this more as, like, a budget episode. You know, we talk about how bad the animation in this show is. This episode is especially bad on that front. And it's very clear, like, they're saving money from the budget to do something bigger later on. Part of that's what we're seeing in episode 5. We'll talk about it in a moment. But yeah, episode 4 definitely felt more like a budget episode. And so it's not great. It's not a great episode. And yeah, I wasn't very strong on episode 3. I'm even worse on episode 4. So in this one, you know, Mark gets summoned to hell by Damien Darkblood because there's a power struggle in hell. This woman named Volcanica has taken over hell from Satan and is trying to bring back this army of nightmare creatures. And so the followers of Satan, Damien Darkblood, his sister, a bunch of other characters who don't fucking matter, are trying to fight off Volcanica. They lose, then they try to summon Mark again, or they try to summon Nolan, but they get Mark instead. Mark does not want to be there. The entire episode, he's just bitching and moaning. Because, you know, he's killed multiple people. He almost killed Titan last episode. Like, Mark's all kinds of fucked up right now. He's not okay. And so, you know, he wants to go deal with that, but instead he's stuck in hell. He does not want to hail Satan, because we do get Satan in this episode, played by Bruce Campbell, who, to be fair, I think is great casting. Bruce Campbell and Clancy Brown are both great castings in this episode. You know, I like Bruce Campbell, what can I say? I hope everything works out for him, that he's not in too much pain. Because he's going to be dearly missed. But yeah, no, I think he does a great job as Satan in this one. So when Mark gets summoned, he's told, like, hey, you and Damien have to go find Satan's crown, which is being guarded by Cerberus. So they go down, they fall down this pit. We get this joke about Damien's helmet, like, every time he talks, the helmet, like, nanotechs off. It goes on just too, like, I think it starts off okay, and then it just goes on too long. Now, sometimes you can have a joke where it's like, it starts off funny, then it goes on too long and it gets awkward. But then it goes on so long that it gets funny again. I don't think this joke went on long enough to get funny again. Like, it hit whatever the exact opposite of a sweet spot is. So I didn't actually care for the joke as they fall down this pit. And then they find Cerberus. And instead of seeing a fight between, you know, Mark, Damien, and Cerberus, Mark chucks Damien up the pit. And then off camera, Mark fights and defeats Cerberus and gets Satan's crown. I said this was the budget episode. And this is the #1 example of how this was the budget episode. The fact that we don't see the fight with Cerberus, yeah, this was the budget episode. Oh my gosh, that's fucking sloppy, man. Of course, once they give the crown back to Satan, we get like a Satan transformation sequence, which we at least see a little more of, but it also does still feel like the budget episode. Like, we don't actually see that much of the transformation. But yeah, Satan goes into his true form. Everybody but Damien's sister is healed up. And then they go and they fight Volcanica and her magma men. Now, okay, spoilers for the comics. But I swear at some point, Doc Seismic is going to come back. And when he does, you know, the first time we see Doc Seismic, he's just causing chaos. And the second time, he's controlling, like, an army of, like, these centipedes. I swear when Doc Seismic shows up again for the third time, he's controlling the Magmen. So I will not... Because at the end of the episode, you know, Mark and Damien go back to Earth. You know, Satan tells Damien, like, your place isn't here in hell, it's up on Earth. And then he, like, does a twist reveal in, like, the post-credit scene that's like, hey, guess what? I want you to figure out why Volcanica wants to destroy the surface world. Because they do imply, like, after they defeat Volcanica, they're like, oh, she says, I will return. You cannot keep me away forever. So definitely this Volcanica plotline and this whole Damien Darkblood thing will probably come back. Hopefully only for one more episode, unless it's very good. But I swear I remember Doc Seismic controlling the Magmen. So I would not at all be surprised is if when Volcanica shows up again, she's working with Doc Seismic, or Doc Seismic is like controlling the Magmen that, you know, she abandoned. If there's some sort of connection there. I fully expect something like that to happen at some point. So that's my guess, is that, you know, she will return at least one more time, as will Damien Darkblood, and they'll deal with Volcanica. And my guess is it's going to happen in the next, like, 2 seasons, because you can only do this so far into the future, because at a certain point the status quo gets changed too much. So I'm going to guess, yeah, next season we'll get another Damien Darkblood episode with Volcanica and Doc Seismic and everything, because I don't think Doc Seismic is dead. Again, I might be misremembering things from the comics. It's been a long time. I don't know. I don't know. Anything else from this episode? So, you know, this season, Mark has had an obsession with the head. You know, he's blew up the astronaut's head. He almost strangled Titan to death. And that's clearly a motif this season, you know, especially based on the next episode. But in this episode, when he fights Volcanica, he punches her in the head, and her head explodes, and then she just reforms. So he punches her in the head like 4 times. So that's, you know, a little bit of Mark working out his aggression. Because we find out the whole thing, like, the demons in Satan are not, like, evil. We find out the whole thing about them is that, you know, they exist in this realm to, like, torture, like, the third worlders. Not, like, think of it like the Matrix, like how there's been previous Matrixes. And they exist to, like, keep them imprisoned and tortured, so that way they, like, never invade the surface again. It's kind of dumb. They do also confirm that at least there's, you know, while hell exists, there is no heaven. At least not that they've ever seen. Which, that sure is an interesting thing. And I like how maybe it's at the end of this, it's probably at the end of this episode, Mark tells Eve that, like, oh, well, I learned there isn't a heaven. But yeah, the episode ends up ending with, hey, Eve is about to tell Mark that she's pregnant, but then Alan and Nolan show up, so they get cut off. And that's where the episode ends. I mean, at least it's a strong ending, I'll give him that. I was just about to say, I feel like I've gotten better at this piranha plant section, and then I immediately fucking died. Game over. Alright, let's go get some more lives. We'll just get however many, you know, we can get in like the 500 seconds. And then we'll move on. And then we'll restart, we'll come back, and see how long that takes. All the Toad House and Lucky Houses are open again. Yeah, luckily none of that matters. So in order to get infinite lives, you have to go back to world... Oops, I had the wrong one. You have to go to world 1... Fuck. You have to go to world 1-2. So down here in World 1-2, there's these Koopas, and we'll use them to get infinite lives. So actually, again, this is a trick you can do almost immediately. So, on to episode 5 of Invincible. So this episode is all about, you know, Nolan is back on Earth, and hey, what are they gonna do? Like, how are they gonna deal with that? You know, he wants to take Mark to space, and, like, Mark doesn't have a choice, you know? Because if they fail to stop the Viltrumites, then the Viltrumites will just come to Earth and destroy Earth. So, either way, this is going to be a problem. So he might as well go to space and try to stop it. Does it drive me a little crazy that, you know, before he leaves, Eve doesn't tell Mark that she's pregnant? Yes. Is that something that happens in the... Does the comics play out the exact same way? Also, yes. I'm gonna mute that, because that's gonna fucking... Oh my gosh. I have to listen to this for the next, like, 420 seconds. Take off my headphones real quick, because that's gonna drive me crazy. So, in this episode, you know, Nolan and Alan are back. They tell Mark. Mark agrees that he'll come with them. Alan goes to get Tech Jacket. So there had been a rumor for a while now that they changed Tech Jacket into a woman. So if you're like most people who have never read an Invincible comic and have also never read, even, you know, the even less people who have read a Tech Jacket comic, Tech Jacket is a character who they have a tech jacket that allows them to do all sorts of crazy things. You know, they show up during the Invincible War, and then they show up here in the comics during the Viltrumite War. They do also have their own comic run of like 24 issues. Because, spoiler alert, nobody really likes Tech Jacket. Like, even, you know, as someone who has read all the Invincible comics, when Tech Jacket showed up in the comics, I was like, oh, this is an interesting character. You know what, sure, I'll check out their comic run as well. No, there are no fans of Tech Jacket. So, obviously, with the fact that they changed Tech Jacket into a female, going from Zach to Zoe, there are some people who are, like, outspoken and like, oh, they've ruined Tech Jacket. I'm a Tech Jacket fan, and now Tech Jacket's a female. This has ruined the character. Like, shut the fuck up. No, you aren't. There are no Tech Jacket fans. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you fucking poser? Or... Okay, I've heard this word recently. A LARP. A LARPer. That instead of I guess Gen Z or Gen Alpha, instead of calling people posers, they now call them LARPers or tourists. You know, as if saying like, oh, they're not real fans, they're just LARPing as real fans. Or they're not real fans, they're just tourist fans. You know, trying to get like these new gen fans out of the fandom. You know, it's just a new form of gatekeeping. But, like, LARPer is already a word. And it's not like it's a word that's, like, fallen out of use. No, people still LARP all the time. Live-action roleplay is still popular. I know tabletop roleplay is all the rage nowadays, but it's not like LARPing went away. Like, why the fuck are you creating a new word when we already have poser? Poser works fine. Sure, it's the name of a band, I think. Nah, I'm probably just thinking of Mike Posner. Did you know he found Jesus? Yeah, I saw a TikTok, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago, of him redoing his biggest hit, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, but instead, he changed, like, the second or third act to be all about Jesus and God and whatnot. Which, to be fair, that seems like a very Mike Posner thing to do. But I wonder what Todd in the Shadows, the #1 Mike Posner historian, has said about it. But okay, dumb bullshit aside, poser, but even if someone, you know, is a new fan to something, we shouldn't be, you know, gatekeeping them. Fuck gatekeepers. No, let them into the fandom. Everybody starts somewheres. Fuck it, let them be fans. Fuck this gatekeeping bullshit. So yeah, there are no Tech Jacket fans. Nobody fucking read the comic. I'm fine with them changing Tech Jacket. That's A-okay in my book. Sure, Zoe, because the big problem that, as I think about it, and as other people have, is that Tech Jacket is just too similar to Mark. You know, they were both created by Robert Kirkman. They're basically the same character. So, yeah, making her a female, aging her down a little bit. I have some, you know, based on a moment in this episode, some people are, you know, like, oh, are they going to do a relationship between Tech Jacket and Oliver? And they could. To be fair, I actually, spoiler alert for the comics, Oliver does eventually start dating someone, somebody not traditional. I actually just kind of hope they do bring her back, because while yes, she is not traditional, I do actually like her, and so yeah, I hope they do bring back Oliver's partner later on, but if they want to do a little subplot between Oliver and Tech Jacket, I'm fine with that, whatever. There are no Tech Jacket fans. They can make whatever changes they want to the character. Alright, we're almost done here. There we go, time's up. I think we have to finish the level. I'm not gonna go until crown. Actually, do I? Nah, I think we can do it in 860 lives. I mean, we burned through 100 in... We burned through 55 lives in like a little over an hour. 860 will take us at least another hour. Because that's how I'm still on a timer here. I'd say we have like an hour left. If I can't beat this in the next hour, well then, fuck it, we'll see. So that's the first thing, Tech Jacket, the changes. I like that. I think everything was fine. You know, Tech Jacket's dad, stepdad, I honestly don't remember, is basically the same as they are in the comics, and Tech Jacket agrees to go off into space for basically the same reasons. I think all that stuff is fine. After that, we get Nolan and Debbie. So, I don't know if you've seen there's a YouTube video that was made a few weeks ago that was like, Invincible has a Debbie problem. Because, spoiler alert for the comics, Debbie and Nolan get back together. That, in the comics, Paul and Debbie break up off-screen, and then Nolan... Because I want to say, when Nolan originally comes back, at this point in the comics, he doesn't even talk to Debbie. I want to say his confrontation with Debbie happens way later on down the line. Spoiler alert, I guess. But no, I think it's good that they moved this confrontation up, that we're getting it here and now. And they go into it with Nolan, you know, apologizing, admitting what a horrible person he is, and how, you know, he wants to, you know, make up for all of his sins. And then Debbie's like, there is no making up for this. You killed millions of people, snuffed out millions of existences. You can't just make up for that. You know, she calls him out. She tells him to go fuck himself. She punches him and breaks her hand. At least she definitely, you know, hurts it. You know, she starts bleeding. It is a really good scene. It's the voice actress whose name I'm forgetting, who is played by Sandra Oh, does a fantastic job. She puts her... After Nolan leaves, she gives like a scream. She puts fucking everything into that scream. And it's so fucking good. Oh my god. Again, every change they make to Debbie in this show is fantastic. And yes, I think this scene is really good. You know, Nolan called her a pet, and she asks about that. And he's like, it was never true. That was me lying to myself. But I think, you know, the fact that they aren't getting back together is very good. I like afterwards, you know, Oliver comes in and is like, oh, well, why didn't Dad see me? And they're like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up. And then she's like, before you know, Oliver wants to go. Originally they say no, that they want Oliver to stay back and protect Earth. But he's like, no, this is Dad's shit. If it wasn't for, Nolan, I wouldn't be here. But also, they wouldn't have destroyed Thraxa, I think is his homeworld. So he eventually says he's going, and they eventually, agree to let Oliver come with them. And then after that, they sit down for a family dinner. Because in the comics, right before Mark leaves, he goes on, like, a date with Eve. And the two go out on a date together. And instead, the show replaces it with a family dinner, where it's Debbie, Mark, Eve. I keep wanting to say Amber. It's, Debbie, Mark, Eve, Paul, and Oliver. They sit together, they have one good meal, as if the world isn't ending, because the world is kind of potentially ending. I do really like that scene. I think that's a good moment. I'm glad that Debbie and Paul are staying together. Presumably, if they make it back, they'll be in a new house, things will be different. Which, again, is not something that happened in the comics, so I'm curious to see where it's going to go from there. But so far, I may hate on the Damien Darkblood stuff. Everything they've done with Debbie has been great. And I hope they don't just immediately drop the ball. But I don't think they will. I think they handled everything here really well. Of course, we do get the part that drives me crazy of, Mark asks Eve, like, hey, what did you want to tell me yesterday? I know everything's kind of happened. And Eve's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. Which makes me think that they are going to do what they did in the comics. Which, you know what? They have the right to do. There's this one woman on TikTok, at least I think it's she, her. Could be they, them, but I'm going to say it's she, her. I could totally be wrong. Who was talking about the show and was like, well, yes, what Robert Kirkman did with Eve was progressive. At the end of the day, this was written by a man. Eve talks about in that confrontation with Doc Seismic, where Doc Seismic calls her out for being like a bad feminist symbol, and she's like, well, I designed this costume myself. Like, that may be true, but also these are comics written and drawn by men. So, like, you can actually only go so far with that. And so, when it comes to, what Eve is going to do, I don't think it's going to change. And, because this is, out of everything they could change between the comics and the show, this is one of those changes that I would not at all be surprised if they changed. But it seems like they're not going to change. And we'll see how it plays out. I guess that's all I'll say on that front. But eventually they all go up into space. Nolan goes and grabs a beer with Mark Hamill's character. I think his name's Art. And they get a beer together and they talk. And, Nolan like tries to play buddy-buddy with him. But he's like, Nolan, you're not a superhero anymore. You killed millions of people. And then immediately when Nolan leaves, he like, Art breathes a sigh of relief, like, oh, thank God he didn't kill me. Because he thought for a second that Nolan was going to kill him. Especially when they talk about Paul. But yeah, so Nolan's in a funk, and Alan even points it out that, like, his reunion to Earth didn't go as expected. Oliver is pissed at Nolan for not talking to him. And I do like that line where Mark calls out Nolan is like, yeah, Oliver idolizes you. The O on his chest, it doesn't stand for Oliver. I like that line. And then the whole, like, oh, it's the whole, why didn't you visit him? Because I didn't want to fuck him up like I fucked up you. He doesn't deserve that. Because Nolan's originally against Oliver coming on board. But they do. And then after that, they take off into space. They're going to whatever the coalition's planet's called. Maybe that's Thraxa. I don't remember. But along the way there, they get attacked by the Viltrumites, specifically Conquest. Conquest shows back up. Mark is, amazed to see him alive still. And then he starts choking him. and is like, that's the last breath you will ever take. And so, yeah, we just have Mark holding on to Conquest's neck as he, like, chokes the life out of him. Meanwhile, Conquest is just trying to beat the shit out of him. You know, I've seen some people complain about power scaling. Let me be very clear. Power scaling is an anime thing. It's a thing for weebs to do on forums. In actual books and movies and whatnot, nobody gives a shit about power scaling. You want to know who will win a fight? Whoever the author says will win a fight. Nobody gives a shit about power scaling outside of, like, anime forums. So everyone who's complaining about how Mark barely beat Conquest last time, and if it wasn't for Eve, he wouldn't have beaten Conquest. Yeah, you know what? Guess what? Conquest gets stronger, he gets stronger. No fucking surprise. He's gonna win the fight because the writer says so. Also, Alan, you know, tells Tech Jacket, what are the Viltrumites' weaknesses? Their egos. And guess what? Mark uses that against Conquest because he specifically goes after Conquest's neck. And while sure, Conquest could have, like, ripped off Mark's arm, he doesn't do that because he's cocky enough to think he can beat Mark before he, you know, chokes to death. And guess what? He's fucking wrong, and it costs him his life. Because yes, Mark drags Conquest goes after Oliver down to the planet. Mark comes back, starts choking him to death, and then Conquest stabs him through the stomach and starts pulling out his intestines. But it's not enough, and Conquest dies. Now, Mark is also pretty much on the verge of death as well. Like, it's not looking, you know, if I didn't know if it wasn't for the fact that he's invincible, I would say he's dead. But, you know, things are complicated. Shit, come on. Alright, this is our first time ever making it to this section. But yeah, at the end of the episode, Zoe and Alan are able to escape by hiding on, like, the Viltrumite ship. Meanwhile, Nolan and Oliver find Mark's, like, body barely clinging on to life. And that's where the episode ends. And yeah, I'd say this was a pretty good episode. All the Nolan and Debbie stuff paid off. The rematch with Conquest, I think, is great. People I've seen on Twitter, people were not expecting that. You know, Mark choking out Conquest and Conquest pulling his guts out. People were not expecting that, but I think it was well done. So yeah, I think this was a good episode. I am curious about what they're going to do for the next one. I wonder, because here's the thing. So far in this show, we get about 25-ish issues per season. At least so far. It definitely each season kind of slows it down a little bit. Like, season 1 and 2 are the first, like, 50 issues of the comics. But then season 3 is the next, like, 20. And so far, based on where we are in season 3, it kind of looks like season 3 is only going to be, like, the next 15 issues, leading us off, like, around, I don't know, like, maybe, like, 85. Which definitely, yeah, we're getting slower per season. But it's just a question of, you know, how much are we going to do per season? What is the next episode going to entail? Because I know the next thing that happens in the comics is, like, a full issue. How much of the next episode is that going to take up? Because it's one of those things where if it takes up, like, half an episode, I wouldn't be surprised. But also, if it only takes up, like, 5 to 10 minutes, I also wouldn't be surprised. So I am curious to see what the next part's gonna be. And where are we gonna end the season off? Like, if we end the season with them I fully expect to end the season with them coming back to Earth. But maybe they don't. Actually, I have a good guess exactly where the season ends. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, again, episode 4 sucked, episode 5 was great. And with that, I guess it's time to talk about Mario Galaxy. So, right now, online, if you look at review scores for the Super Mario Galaxy movie, it is currently sitting at, I want to say, a 46% audience score, or critic score, a 46% critic score, and potentially even lower than that. Meanwhile, the audience score for the Mario Galaxy movie is sitting at about like 91-ish. So much like the original Mario Galaxy movie, there is the original Mario movie. There is a very clear divide between critics and audiences. And so last week when we talked about the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I said it's not exactly a good movie, but I had fun with it. You know, it was a good, fun time. I think it was cohesive enough. It's basic, but it was, it was good enough. I had a good time. The Mario Galaxy movie has the exact same issue, but I think it's a little bit worse. They took what people loved about Galaxy and then put almost none of that into the movie. And we literally just got the Super Mario Bros. Movie again. And that kinda sucks, because I really like the Mario Galaxy story. Mario Galaxy, I would argue, has the best story of any Mario game. And the fact that we didn't get that in the movie is really fucking disappointing. Like, Nintendo truly had the chance to do something special here, and they completely squandered it. And that breaks my fucking heart in a way I can barely describe. Like, yeah, no shit, critics hate this movie. But, like, even as, again, my favorite 3D Mario game is Galaxy. I love Galaxy. And we got almost no Galaxy in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So to that end, I was disappointed. So, the big problems is that the plot is paper thin. Like, in the first movie, I described the plot as basic. The hero's journey, hero saves princess from a dragon. That's it. The second one technically is doing that again. There is a hero who saves a princess from a dragon, and this one is more literal. Like, in the last one, the princess was Luigi. And this one, at least, it's an actual fucking princess. But the plot is paper thin. It is a series of scenes loosely connected together by a plot. So much so that entire scenes in this movie, a good chunk of this movie, could be completely removed and nothing would change. You know that thing where it's like, oh, if you remove Indiana Jones from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the story is exactly the same. I've always found that theory kind of dumb. Like, no, Indiana Jones does matter. Yes, without him, the Nazis still would have died on the island. But it's still, Indiana Jones still plays a part. The Mario Galaxy movie is that. If you removed Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi from this movie, the movie would more or less have played out the exact same way. And that's kind of disappointing for the Mario Galaxy movie. The fact that your main character, Mario, is so disposable is so disappointing. Oh my gosh. And yeah, there are entire scenes, entire montages that are just there to be like, oh, look at the cool fight scene. Look at the fun colors. And they contribute nothing. Like, we talk about filler. It is the definition of filler. Like, at least in, what some people refer to as filler, but it isn't filler, we still learn something about the characters. The characters still go through arcs. The Mario Galaxy movie has almost no character arcs. I mean, some characters grow a little bit, I guess, but for the most part, there are no character arcs. Like, at least in the original Mario movie was Mario having a crisis of faith. You know, he had always been this sort of brave hero, but because of his struggles, he was doubting himself. Like, could he actually do it? And by the end of the movie, he's like, yes, I can do it. I can save Brooklyn as long as me and Luigi are together. This movie doesn't have that. Characters don't go through arcs. They don't change. I don't want to say this is like Ghostbusters, a movie about nothing, but this is probably the closest we've gotten to a movie about nothing since Ghostbusters. And at least Ghostbusters is good. This doesn't even have that compliment. Because, yeah, I mean, Peach has a little bit of change, Bowser has a little bit of change, but that's about it. Nobody else goes through any change. Nobody else deals with arcs or stories. It's overall disappointing. There's a lot of references in the movie. Like, yeah, this movie, you know, I gave the first movie credit that it is a movie made by people who love the characters. Yes, that is still true. However, references do not make a good movie. If they did, then Ready Player One would be the greatest movie of all time. And guess what? Not only is that not true, but Ready Player One, the Steven Spielberg movie, might be better than this movie. Not by much, but it is, potentially. I don't know, I haven't seen it in a long time. But it kind of feels like it is. I don't know, literally that one's a little bit more soulless, but it at least had Steven Spielberg. This is definitely better than the book, Ready Player One. If you have never read the book, do not read the Ready Player One book. It's fucking terrible. It's everything bad about the movie and this, but times like 1,000. That book is unbearably bad. But this movie is better than... The Mario Galaxy movie is better than Ready Player One, the book. But not better than... The Mario Galaxy movie is better than Ready Player One, the book, but potentially not better than Ready Player One, the movie, which is fucking sad. Yeah, it is worse than the first one. Barely? Like, I'd say they're close, but this one just has more potential. You see the spark of more potential there. They're working with stronger source material, and we get almost none of that. The comparison I've landed on is that both Mario movies, Mario and Mario Galaxy, are like fireworks. They're big, colorful explosions. They're fun spectacles. But beneath the surface, they have no substance. They have no deeper meaning. The Mario movie and Mario Galaxy are fireworks. They're fun, but that's about it. And once you see them, you'll never think about them again. And sure, people will record videos on their phones, but you will never watch that video again. You know, they've got a lot of fun music, but that's about it. There's no substance. They're the fireworks of movies. And I don't know about you, but I want a little bit more from my movies. Because, okay, one of the constant, defenses I've seen of this movie, and both criticism, to be fair, this defense has been very well criticized, is that this is just a kid's movie. That, it's fine if it's just dumb, fun colors, because it's just a kid's movie. But no, kids do deserve better. Because basically, everything that Pixar has done, a lot of stuff that DreamWorks has done, almost everything Sony has done in the past, 10 years, give or take an Emoji Movie, is better than this. All these other studios are giving us high-quality kids' movies Meanwhile, this is just shat out. This is nowhere... You can have a good, high-quality kids movie that can be enjoyed by everyone, with a deep plot, with complex characters, that leaves the audience wanting more. And yet the Mario movie just doesn't do that. Now, I have seen some critics say that this is the worst movie of all time. That, you know, there was one critic who said they had to put themselves in physical pain just to get through it. There was one critic, I want to say it was The Guardian, who said that this movie is worse than AI slop. I don't want to say that guy should be fired, because that's intense. That's a little too extreme. But if you think this movie made by humans is worse than something an AI could slop together, you should not be in this business. You should not be reviewing movies. Because this, despite this movie being bad, this movie was made by humans. There is a sense of love and care here that did not make a good movie, but you can feel that love and care. An AI could never do that. And saying that an AI could do better than this, go fuck yourself. I don't care that he hated the movie. I think he gave it 0 stars. Yeah, he has all the right to do so. I could see how somebody could fucking hate this movie. But saying that this is worse than AI slop, go fuck yourself. No wonder everybody hates critics. You know, usually I'm, you know, more on... I don't want to say I'm more on the side of the critics. I think critics get too much shit. But sometimes they fucking deserve it. It's like people who ride bikes. Like, bike people are some of the most, like, fought against people who do fully deserve it sometimes. Because bike people can be fucking assholes. Sometimes, not always. But that's the other thing. There are, you know, this may be a bad kids movie. There are far worse bad kids movies than this. You know, some people have never seen a bad movie in their lives, and it really shows. I have seen far worse kids movies than this. I mean, Norm of the North, the Emoji Movie, the Oogie Loves. All worse kids movies than this. What's that fucking Food Fight? There's another one, Food Fight. There are far worse kids movies than this. Like, yes, this one, at least is fun and heroic. Sure, that's like less than bare minimum, but it's at least doing something. Those other movies do nothing. I would argue some of the Minions movies are worse than this. But no, for some critics, this is the death of cinema. Like, fuck right off. It's a bad movie. I get it. Some critics are just saying that because they want a catchy headline that'll get people to read their review. Because all that matters is the clicks. I fully understand that. But also go fuck yourself. It's a bad movie. That's all you gotta say. You wanna know my fancy little headline? It would be, if only Nintendo could bring the level of care they put into the video games into their movie. There you go. That's my thoughts. Because the Mario games have so much love, so much care, so much passion put into them. And you feel none of that in the movie. They feel like they're just kind of thrown together set pieces and action scenes that just do nothing. Like, I understand, the original Mario game doesn't have much of a plot. A lot of Mario games, including the one we're playing right now, don't have much of a plot. But the excuse is that, hey, they don't have much of a plot because they're doing what video games do best, having fun gameplay. And the gameplay is top-notch, some of the best quality stuff. But that's not how it works in movies. In movies, you need a story. You need characters. And it feels like Nintendo just doesn't get that. They're treating it just like the games, and it's blowing up in their faces. Admittedly, it's selling very well. I mean, this is on track to be the best performing movie of the year, and I want to say it's already made like $300 million. but it's just not good. Now, with all that said, it's a bad movie. It's got its flaws. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have fun. There are some fun moments. There are some decent set pieces. Not everything, but there are some good moments. This movie is filled with references. And sometimes I did really like those references. Sometimes they're fun references where I'm like, oh, that's cool, that's fun. Nintendo is able to capture fun in video games, and they're trying to do that for movies. And they do succeed. The movie's fun. It just comes at a terrible cost. And I really do wish they would sacrifice some of these, set pieces and explosions and references just to give us a little bit more plot, a little bit more character. I would happily give up a bunch of this stuff just for a little bit more character. But no, that's not how Nintendo does things. Because, yeah, this movie is a very clear love letter to Mario and the world that Mario has created and its characters. But that's it. It doesn't actually do anything more than that. Because I'd compare this to the Sonic movies. Because the Sonic movies, I would say the first Sonic movie started off a lot weaker than the Mario movies. Like, the Mario movies have a love and a respect for their character that the first Sonic movie just didn't have. But whereas the Sonic movies learned and grew with their sequels, the Mario movie just didn't. And sure, it respects its character, but it doesn't do anything more than that. It doesn't give the character anything to work with. It doesn't evolve the character. I would say it's disrespectful in a way that they're just not giving Mario anything to work with. Because, like, the Sonic movies, the Sonic movies succeed where the Mario movies fail. The Sonic movies, they know when to slow down. They know when to let characters have their moments. They know when it's important to, advance the plot and give plot-relevant moments. They know when they can have sad moments, which the Mario movie does not know how to do. The Sonic movies, they do references really well. Because, yeah, they've got tons of references, but they don't overshadow their plot. The Sonic movie is not just references. Plot is equally as important, and when they find a chance to squeeze in some references, they squeeze in some references. The Mario movie doesn't. It puts references about everything else. The Sonic movies can also learn from their mistakes. Each Sonic movie gets a little bit better. Sonic 3, I would argue, is genuinely a good movie. I'd recommend the Sonic movies to anybody, because they learn from their mistakes, they improve, they show a love and respect for their character, while also being a good movie. It didn't start that way, but it eventually got there. The Mario movie doesn't. And it makes me worried, because obviously this movie's doing well. It's already potentially tripled its budget. I think it had like $110 million. It's already made $300 million. It's tripled its budget. It's made back its budget, it's made back its advertising budget, and then some. And that's all within 5 days. There's gonna be a third one. We know there's gonna be a Donkey Kong movie, allegedly. Yeah, I fully expect that. I would not be surprised if we get, like, a Luigi's Mansion movie. But I worry about all of that. I worry about the Zelda movie. I worry about the Zelda movie. I know it's Sony doing that one instead of Illumination, but if Nintendo brings the same level to the Zelda movie that they do to the Mario movie, the Zelda movie's gonna fucking suck. And that one's in live action. They have, at least animation can rely on, like, the tropes of animation and can have, like, colorful, fun characters doing zany and wacky things. You can't do that in live action. I am so fucking concerned for that Zelda movie. I don't want to say there's no way the Zelda movie could be good, but I'm now insanely worried. The third Mario movie? I don't think stands a fucking chance. Nintendo would have to fucking pick themselves up by their bootstraps and basically reinvent the wheel to make the third Mario movie good. And the fact that this one made, again, $300 million in 5 days, they're not going to. Why would they? This movie's already doing, this movie's done so well. And sure, it might be hurting Mario's brand image, and usually Nintendo very much gives a shit about that. Nintendo cares about Mario's brand image, and the same way like Disney cares about Mickey Mouse's brand image. But I also think just Nintendo doesn't care. That, we always talk about how greedy a company Nintendo is, and while I think the internet at large makes them out to be worse than they are still pretty greedy. And the fact that, a lot of people with the Switch 2 say that Nintendo doesn't have to learn anything from the Switch 2 because it's so successful. But us as Nintendo fans, we should demand better. And I see where they're coming from, and in some ways I do agree, but in some ways I feel like they're, grifters are gonna grift. The Mario movie is the same thing, but I feel like this one has a stronger case of like, yes, we should demand better from Nintendo. That just because this movie is doing well doesn't mean that they couldn't improve in the next one. And that the worst part is Galaxy is their best. Galaxy is the best Mario story. And now they've just kind of squandered it. Like, yeah, they could do the Super Mario Galaxy movie too, but they're not going to. We're gonna move on to like Mario Odyssey or Mario World, and I'm worried about whatever that's gonna be. I'm way less will I still see them? Of course I will. But that like hope that like, oh, by the next one they'll get better. No, I don't think that's happening. I think it's going to be the exact same shit, just, different packages, which really sucks, because, like, I feel like there's so much potential for, like, Donkey Kong, especially if they want to adapt Donkey Kong Bonanza, which has a great story for a, Mario spin-off, Mario adjacent thing. Donkey Kong Bonanza would lend itself great to a movie, and I feel like they're going to completely fuck that up somehow. So yes, I am concerned. But that's my thoughts on the movie. So I think last week for the Mario movie, I gave it like a 6 or a 7. Because again, it's bad, but I still had a good time. This one, I'm definitely worse on, but I don't think it's terrible either. I know in the video game industry, the review scale in the video game industry, the lowest possible game score you will see is a 5 out of 10. Whereas, if we've seen anything from movie critics this past week, no, movie critics use the whole scale. They'll give a 0 out of 10, even though this is not a 0 out of 10 movie. That's fucking ludicrous. If I gave the first one like a 6 or a 7, this one's closer to a 5 or a 6. It is worse. There are still enjoyable elements. I still had fun. And I would say that, yes, score-wise, this is probably a 5 out of 10, but if you go to see this and you take your kids to see this, they will probably have a good time. There is like an 80% chance they will have a good time. Not everybody. I mean, I've heard some horror stories. I will say I went to this with a pretty packed audience filled with kids, and all the kids in my audience had a great time. They were having so much fun, but that's obviously not going to be everybody. So yeah, while it's a 5 out of 10 movie, for, taking a family to go see it, you're most likely going to have a good time, or at least your kids will. This is sadly an Illumination movie, so there's not much here for parents. But I would only say take your kids to see this if you, didn't take them to go see Hoppers, or if you've already seen... I would say only take your kids to see this if you've already taken them to see Hoppers. If they have not seen Hoppers, go see that one first. That is a much better movie that is doing much more than this one is. That one actually has a plot and characters. I'd even recommend going to take your kids to see Project Hail Mary before this. They'll love Rocky. But this, I mean, I guess if you've seen those other two things, maybe go see this. Again, there are worse kids movies. There are also worse video game movies that came out this year. Everyone forgot about it immediately, but a Silent Hill movie came out this year. And that thing was genuinely awful. That was much closer to like a 1 or a 2 out of 10. That movie sucked. The Mario Galaxy isn't even the worst video game movie to come out this year. It's definitely not the best either. I'd still say Markiplier's Iron Lung is better. But do not take your kids to see that one. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's my spoiler-free thoughts. I guess we're gonna get into spoilers now, so just be warned. Full spoilers ahead. I'm gonna kind of go into the whole kit and caboodle. So you have been warned. Full spoilers. If you don't want that, get out of here. So, the first big thing for me, Rosalina is barely in this movie. Now, I had this concern before the movie came out. You know, I'm a big Rosalina fan. We've been playing as her in this game for the past few weeks. She's maybe got at most like 10 minutes of screen time. And that sucks, because I really do like the character. And the fact that she's barely in the movie is bad. Because she is interesting, she is compelling. They do make one big change to her character. I don't think it's the end of the world. So the big change they make is that Rosalina and Peach are now sisters. So I know like a decade ago, maybe even longer than that, like 12 years, MatPat put out a video speculating that Peach and Rosalina were mother and daughter. That Peach is Rosalina's mother. That video was always bullshit. Like anything game theory does, you know, MatPat just, you know, it's a theory. So it's a lie. You know, he's making his best guess, but it's a fucking lie. You know, in hindsight, it's clear most of game theory stuff was bullshit. I think that one Doobus Goobus video where he talks about us with Sonic. Did MatPat lie to you? Yes, every MatPat video is a lie. Like, yeah, Peach was never the mother. Like, we've always known that. It's weird that MatPat, or at least, you know, the people who replaced him doubled down on that this week, despite the movie being wrong, but fucking whatever. Nobody watches game theory anymore. No shade to the new hosts. They're doing their jobs, but nobody cares anymore. So yeah, Peach and Rosalina are sisters. I think it's a fine change. I know some people are upset about it. The big one is the Rule 34 artists, because now, all of a sudden, all their Peach and Rosalina Yuri is now incest. Which, there was an artist on Twitter, I think their name's Starlet, and before seeing the movie, I saw them post on Twitter that was like hey, here's some Peach and Rosalina Yuri, I'll draw more when I get back from seeing the movie. And the comments are just all like, just wait. And then they got back and they just retweeted with like, what? What the fuck? Yep, that's to be expected. So like, I know the artists are freaking out. Again, this is just for the movie universe. The games, it's kind of like the FNAF movies. Like, they're similar, but they are different. Is the FNAF 2 movie better or worse than the Mario movie? I would probably say the FNAF 2 movie is worse. They both have a lot of issues, but at least I had fun with the Mario Galaxy movie, whereas the FNAF movie, I just didn't. Maybe. But yeah, no, I think Peach and Rosalina being sisters is a fine change. It does have some interesting implications. At the end of the spoiler section, we'll talk about my predictions for the future. But, I think it's a fine change. I do not think it's like too revolutionary. Again, there's always been some sort of speculation. I'm okay with this. Plus, this makes me hope that, because you get Brie Larson in this movie, and I think she does, again, all the voice cast is decent. Admittedly, some people, Childish Gambino, Brie Larson, Jack Black, are putting more into this movie than like Chris Pratt, who's barely, if not even doing a voice. But like, please bring Brie Larson back as Rosalina in the next one. Give her some actual screen time. She's too good in this just to throw her out completely. And it is disappointing she only got like 10 minutes. Another character who is in the movie but barely in the movie is Fox. Now, I think I said last week, since we knew Fox was in the movie, my thought was that he was going to get around 5 minutes of screen time. He got about 6.5. That's what I expected. I think that's a fine amount for Fox. You know, he's there, he's a fun cameo, but he doesn't overstay his welcome. We found out from Miyamoto since then that I guess originally the idea for Fox was that they pitched it to Miyamoto, like Chris Meledandri and the others were like, hey, we'd like to put Fox in the movie. And Miyamoto was like, I don't know. You know, we try to keep the Mario and all the Nintendo universes separate, except for like Pikmin and Smash Bros. So he took the idea back to the people at Nintendo, and they were all like, yeah, that actually sounds like a good idea. Yeah, let's go for it. So that's how Fox made it into the movie. And then Glenn Powell, who is the voice of Fox, is, I guess, a massive Star Fox fan. And kind of like how Childish Gambino reached out to play Yoshi in this movie, he reached out asking, hey, could he play Star Fox? Could they do a Star Fox movie? So we might potentially owe the Star Fox revival to Glenn Powell. Like, he might have single-handedly brought back the character, especially if the rumors are to be believed. Which, yeah, you know what? Star Fox earns a redemption. I do like his part in this movie. I think he's fun. I like how when they first set him up as, like, Mario's, like, rival, that, like, he's worried that, like, oh, Peach is gonna find him attractive. But then they almost immediately blow through that, and it's like, no, we're actually great friends now. It reminds me of, like, the Toms in Spider-Man No Way Home. It's fun. It's cute. We get Fox in the Lumas, and they're very cute together. I do like that scene of, like, the Lumas, like, getting, like, the Star Fox gear on. That was fun. But no, I think Fox's scenes are fun. It is references, but honestly, out of all the references, I don't think this one is bad at all. Admittedly, I do like to think in an alternate universe where they said no to the crossover, this would have been Lubba in the Starship Mario, which, okay, it maybe didn't have to be Starship Mario, I mean, it could have been. But I feel like that would have been better. Like, that would have been more on trend with Galaxy, is to get Lubba in here. But instead, we got this. I mean, again, at least it's a good time. So yeah, the Fox stuff isn't bad. Then you get Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi. And like I said earlier, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi contribute nothing in this movie. Everything they do could be removed, and you would lose nothing. Because they get a lot of, like, set pieces and, like, action scenes that contribute nothing to the plot. So the basic plot, the, you know, paper-thin plot, is, hey, Bowser Jr. has kidnapped Rosalina, and one of the Lumas escapes and goes and tells Peach, and is like, please, Princess Peach, you know, Mama told us stories about you, will you save our Mama? So Peach, you know, Peach and Toad run away to go save Rosalina, leaving Mario and Luigi and Yoshi and, yeah, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi behind. Eventually, Peach makes her way to the Gateway Galaxy. From there, she goes down to Wart's Casino, where she interrogates Wart to find out where Bowser Jr. is. She then goes and hires a pilot. They go to the Space Junk Galaxy where Bowser Jr. is. There's a big action fight scene. And then Peach saves Rosalina. At no point was Mario and Luigi needed for any of that. And that's maybe the biggest problem in the movie, is that Mario could be removed from his own movie and you lose nothing. And that sucks. That really does suck. There are some good moments. Early on when we meet Yoshi, we get like a montage. Because if you remember at the end of the last movie, his egg was in New York. So we get a scene of Yoshi running around New York, you know. We see him go to the Punch-Out Pizzeria. In this flashback, we actually see Doc Lewis and Little Mac. Which, again, it's a blink and you'll miss it thing. That was a cute cameo. That, again, I think the montage is fine, but it doesn't contribute anything. We get to see Spike again. We see Donkey Kong. We find out Donkey Kong's been hanging out in New Donk City, or I guess New York, Brooklyn. I don't know. Again, I think they're setting up a Donkey Kong movie, And if this is how Donkey Kong meets a young Pauline, that's fine with me. But yeah, the Yoshi montage is, I think, fun. Eventually he gets chased out of town. We get a montage of Mario and Luigi running the Mushroom Kingdom, which I did predict, by the way. I totally predicted this like 3 months ago, or whenever they released that trailer. Yeah, that montage is also, again, it's just colorful lights and fun scenes. You know, we get to see them use the different power-ups, but it really contributes nothing to the movie. I think it's okay, but it's not great either. The bad scenes are eventually they end up, so Bowser Jr. attacks, and he like lifts away the castle, but it crash lands on Honey Hive Galaxy. Or at least a version of it. And so, you know, eventually they deal with Bowser. We'll talk about it later. They meet the Honey Queen. The entire scene with the Honey Queen, them being stuck in Honey Hive Galaxy, contributes almost nothing to the plot. There's a reason why the Honey Queen wasn't in any of, like, the trailers or anything. Her scene in this movie is so fucking short. It is, for such a major character in the games, it is kind of disappointing. Okay, not major, but you know, she's at least got a little importance. She shows up multiple times. She was a racer in Mario Kart, for Christ's sake. At least once. The Honey Queen stuff sucks. It's just disappointing. Another scene that sucks, the dinosaur scene. So, after Mario and Luigi and Peach and Toad and Star Fox, they get shot out of the sky by Bowser Jr., and Bowser Jr. turns them into babies. You know, and we've seen this in the trailer where they find the T-Rex from Mario Odyssey. That scene is so disappointing. You can remove that entire scene from the movie, and you lose nothing. The plot doesn't change at all. It is maybe the worst scene in the movie, just because of how little it does. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's that entertaining. It doesn't develop our characters. It doesn't change them anything. I was really disappointed by that. That scene, that scene should have been the first thing sacrificed to give us just like an ounce more plot. To just give us a little bit more. Oh my god. But yeah, everything Mario and Luigi do is like that. Now there's some other stuff. They do, you know, I mentioned last week that in the games, Mario and Luigi aren't, in the games, Mario and Peach aren't really allowed to, like, date. Like, even as recent as, like, last year, Nintendo has been like, yeah, Mario and Peach are friends, but their relationship isn't deeper than that. Like, yeah, occasionally Peach kisses Mario, but they're just good friends, you know, it's a friendly kiss. It's, you know how, like, Spider-Man isn't allowed to date, or Spider-Man is allowed to date Mary Jane, but he's not allowed to marry her. It's kind of the same thing with Mario and Peach. They're allowed to be friends, but they can't, you know, date or get married or anything. I will give the movie credit. There are multiple scenes where Mario is talking to Luigi and Yoshi about asking Peach out, if she'll be his girlfriend. The plot, that could, you know, potentially be Mario's whole character arc, is, you know, him eventually by the end of the movie asking Peach out. But guess what? It doesn't, like, yeah, she kisses him at the end, but that's it. It doesn't go any farther than that. They just remain good friends by the end of the movie. There's a really awkward scene where when Mario and Peach get reunited, Peach goes in for a hug, and Mario goes into a handshake, and it's just really fucking awkward. And yeah, the whole relationship thing, like, yes, they very clearly want to date each other, but they don't go that far, and it really sucks. Like, them officially dating, even if it's just in the movie universe, would be a good thing. But no, Nintendo always chickens out. They're a nacho. Nacho? Whatever the fuck. I do like, though, when Luigi's like, yeah, ask Peach to be your girlfriend, and then ask if she has any friends that I could date. Because, you know, he's talking about Daisy. We'll get to the Daisy thing. But I think that's a cute moment. I do like that. The closest thing this movie does have to an actual character in an arc is Bowser, and Bowser Jr. So Bowser, you know, at the start of the movie, or at least early-ish on, he's on the path to redemption. You know, he's been living in Peach's castle as like a mini Bowser, and they're trying to like redeem him. You know, he's working on his demons, and eventually, you know, Bowser Jr. shows up, kidnaps the castle, but fails to save Bowser. So it's Bowser, Luigi, Mario, and Yoshi together. And eventually they make the decision to like make Bowser big again, as you know, he's trying to redeem himself. I think the idea of Bowser getting a redemption arc is not a terrible idea. I like in the Mario RPGs how in at least half of them, Bowser is actually on Mario's side. Again, Paper Mario the Origami King is not an amazing game, but I like what it does with Bowser and how it kind of transitions Bowser. Like, he helps out Mario, but he's mainly doing it just for, like, because he wants to be a good influence on Bowser Jr. Again, I've said it for a long time now. I feel like since Mario Odyssey, Nintendo should move away from the whole Bowser's trying to kidnap Princess Peach thing, and instead focus on Bowser trying to steal MacGuffins to take over the world, so that way he can get Bowser Jr. into like a good school district or something. And there's only been like 2 Mario games since then. Neither of them involve stealing princesses, you know? And then there's this game where he's trying to steal the Sprixies. So I'm fine with them moving, you know, if Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina are playable characters alongside Mario, Luigi, and Toad in every future Mario game, I will consider that a victory. And just have every week, you know, Bowser goes after a different MacGuffin. Or maybe introduce some new villains and make Bowser playable. That could be interesting. But we'll see. But yeah, so we get Bowser's redemption arc. Meanwhile, he talks about Bowser Jr., that he's worried he was a bad dad, that he was absent for a lot of Bowser Jr.'s life, that he sent Bowser Jr. to boarding school, and he's worried that Bowser Jr. hates him. Because that's kind of the one thing about Bowser, is like, despite him being an evil guy who murders people and kidnaps princesses and assault and all that stuff, he is a good dad. Like, he genuinely cares about his son. And you do get that in this movie, that when Bowser Jr. reunites with his dad, after Bowser, like, sacrifices himself. Because he thinks, like, oh, he's gonna sacrifice himself and do a good thing, but he's saved by Jr. And then Jr., like, convinces him to do evil again. Which I think that's okay. You know, Bowser trying to redeem himself, spending time with his son, and realizes, you know what? I actually like being evil. That's okay. It's not much of an arc, but it's more than Mario, Luigi, Peach, or Rosalina get. So I'll fucking give you that. It's the most arc any character has. Because Bowser Jr.'s whole thing is that basically when he was a kid, Bowser used to tell him these, like, elaborate, like, bedtime puppet stories about how they would kidnap Rosalina, create a Boomsday weapon, and destroy the universe. And so Bowser Jr. has made that a reality. He's created his own planet, he's created the Boomsday weapon, he's kidnapped Rosalina. And that's his big end goal, is to, you know, destroy the Mushroom Kingdom, and he eventually convinces his dad to do so, because at first, you know, Bowser doesn't want to kill Mario and Luigi, and that's why they get turned into babies. But eventually he decides, like, oh, you know, protecting my son and protecting his dream is more important than, you know, being friends with Mario and Luigi. And he goes full villain, and that's okay. You know, it's the closest thing we get to something good in this movie. At least character or plot-wise. But eventually, you know, all of our characters meet up at Space Junk Galaxy to fight Bowser and Bowser Jr. Toad, I realized this later on, Toad fucking disappears from the movie in the 3rd act. Like, I understand them getting rid of Fox, okay? You know, Fox is out distracting the Air Force. They don't need Fox or the Navy or whatever. But Toad also goes with Fox, and that's just kind of weird. I talk about how you can remove Mario and Luigi from this movie. You can also remove Toad from this movie. Toad does almost nothing. Like, Toad's biggest contribution is that he wears a penguin suit for one scene. Come on. Oh my god, I think that's it. I think we fucking did it. Holy shit. I still have so much more to talk about. But okay, so in the lead up to, you know, this final confrontation between Bowser Jr., and then Mario and Peach, we get they do like a trench run where they have to run past all these obstacles. But Bowser Jr. is controlling the obstacles with like an NES controller. And the one problem with the scene is that Mario and Peach use the 8-bit sprites, but all the obstacles and the backgrounds and everything use the 16-bit sprites. Like, they're merging game styles. Usually Nintendo is like really good at not doing that. I don't know how they fucked it up this time. But I still think the trench run scene is fun. And then after they get out of the trench, they come across Bowser on this bridge. And when I saw the bridge, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be World 1-1, isn't it? Or World 1-4. I was actually like really excited, like, oh my god, this is World 1-4. And then, and then they do it. We get the bridge scene. Mario takes the axe, he cuts the bridge. Bowser falls into the lava. That was really fucking cool. I really did like that. Again, the movie can occasionally do spectacle. That's a good spectacle. Fuck, what do we do now? Okay, let me think. We beat this. Fuck. Do we boot up Animal Crossing? No. Do I boot up? I don't know what to do now. You know what? Fuck it, let's boot up Captain Toad. I know I said we were going to do this. Fuck it, let's do that. Alright, give me a second. Oh, come on. Yeah, fuck it, you know. It's... Well, we can do like episode 1 today or something. I don't think... This game isn't that long. I've been thinking about replaying this and we were going to do it next week. But fuck it, let's start it this week. I haven't played this game in a long time. I want a new Captain Toad so bad. After playing Mario Wonder, we need a new Captain Toad. So, where was I? Oh, so the bridge scene. So we get the bridge scene, and I thought that was so cool. Like, you know, you talk about references, how not everything needs to be a reference, but sometimes it is fun putting references in there. And the bridge scene is a fun reference. Like, that's something from the games. It's like a sort of reference that the Sonic movies would do, when they had, like, the Death Egg in the second one. Like, that's a good, fun reference. The bridge scene is a good, fun reference. And then, you know, while talking about it, Bowser mentions, like, oh, you're gonna see my Fury, Mario. And I was like, are we gonna see Fury Bowser in this? Because I could see us seeing Fury Bowser. Now, we do get Fury Bowser Jr., but no, we do not get Fury Bowser. I would not be surprised if in the next one we get Fury Bowser, because we also haven't seen the Mega Mushroom yet. So if we get Fury Bowser and the Mega Mushroom in the next one, I wouldn't be surprised. But no, instead we get Dry Bowser. I think Dry Bowser is a fine reference that, you know, if this movie had had a better plot and story, this could still be there, and I think it'd still be a fine reference. And we get this whole fight scene where we got, you know, Luigi has the Cloud Mushroom, Mario has the Drill Mushroom, and, you know, it's Fury Bowser Jr. and Dry Bowser. And it's a, you know, it's an action scene. It does go places, which I do like. At one point, Luigi takes Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush, and he draws something with it, and he makes Game & Watch. That's a cute reference, and you know, Game & Watch uses his Smash Bros. Moves, and he hits Bowser with the level 9 hammer. I wish it had popped up the 9 above the head, but other than that, I like the Game & Watch. I think the Rob scene was okay. You know, a lot of the third-party Nintendo references, like, yes, Star Fox is given something to do. Rob, it's basically just the joke from Zootopia with the sloth. So it's the same joke. Samus's ship is in the background, but that's a background thing. We see the Pikmin ship, and it is to like scale, so it's like really small. That was cute. But yeah, you could have left all the Nintendo references, all the non-Mario references out of this movie, and I don't think you would have lost anything. I really don't. But yes, Game & Watch was a cute reference. Because, yeah, it was fun seeing him fight with his Smash Bros. Moveset. And then Bowser Jr. cuts him in half. But Bowser Jr. gets his paintbrush back. And even though even though there is a dragon in Mario Galaxy, specifically Galaxy 2 has Gobblegut, Bowser Jr. uses his paintbrush to summon a dragon. But it's not Gobblegut. It's the Odyssey Dragon, whose name I don't actually remember. Odyssey Dragon Boss. Is it just called the Ruined Dragon? The Ruined Dragon, also referred to as the Lord of Lightning, is a dark purple dragon encountered in Ruined Kingdom. Is that really it? His Japanese name is the Crumbledon Dragon. Okay, well, so Bowser Jr. uses his paintbrush to summon the Ruined Dragon. Again, it's a fine reference, but have we used up everything from Odyssey? Outside of going to, like, specific Odyssey kingdoms, we've used up the main plot from Odyssey, which is the marriage. We've used up the dragon. I feel like we've used up a lot of what Odyssey has to offer. And on one hand, I am kind of disappointed. You know, because if they call the next movie the Super Mario Odyssey movie, they've already used all of Mario Odyssey's main plot points. So, like, what else is there? Like, seriously, what else is there? I have no fucking idea. So, I'm not mad per se, I'm just kind of disappointed. But I do like that the Odyssey Dragon eats Bowser Jr. and Mario has to save him. They use that song, the Luigi, I just wanna touch you. They use that song, and that was all I could fucking think about. But no, I like, you know, because Bowser panics when he sees Junior get eaten. I like that Mario, you know, goes and saves him. And then that's it. You know, they're defeated. Meanwhile, Peach is able to save Rosalina. Because they have this power when, like, their hands touch each other. It creates, like, life, like plants and whatnot. Which, okay, there's a scene early on in the movie. Or, you know, okay, maybe not early on, like, probably more than halfway, where we see how Peach and Rosalina got separated. That somebody was coming after them, and in order to keep Peach safe, Rosalina split them up. You know, she went one way, Peach went the other way. And that does make me wonder, who was coming after them? That's my... If they're gonna do another one, that's my assumption at what the third movie is going to be. Is that there's some sort of force beyond Bowser that wants to steal Rosalina and Peach's power. That's my guess. But, I mean, well, I guess we'll see. I'll talk about my thoughts on the next one in a minute. But yeah, I think, you know, them having a special power together, it's fine, I guess. You know, in a better movie, it would be more interesting, but this isn't a better movie. So afterwards, you know, everybody's saved. They go back to Peach's castle. It's not there anymore because it gets destroyed. And like everyone's like so disappointed. And they're like, let's build a new castle. So we get a quick like 8-bit castle building montage. And then we got the new castle. Mario puts the flag on it. He gets the kiss on the forehead or on the nose or whatever. And then the movie ends. Yeah, it just kind of ends. Again, no character arcs are wrapped up or anything. We don't really get a moment of Peach and Rosalina together to be sisters. It's what makes me hope that they bring Rosalina back in the next one, because now that Rosalina and Peach are sisters, that gives them a good excuse to be together in the next movie. You know, oh, Rosalina is coming back just to visit. So, I hope they bring Brie Larson back, because she's, you know, she's good in this. And I hope we get a Star Fox movie and everything. Even though, again, I am kind of worried about if it's going to be good or not. Oh, I didn't talk about the Star Fox introduction scene that uses, like, a bunch of, like, 80s-inspired, like, synth, you know, decor. Was fun, you know, learning how Fox got to the Mushroom Kingdom. I did like that. Fox was good in this movie. I'll say that. And if this launches 1,000 Star Fox fans, admittedly, I hope it's more than that, but... you know, it looks like we might be on Star Fox Revival. And if the Mario movie does that, good. Good. So our post-credit scene, we get two. The first post-credit scene was actually shown in one of the trailers. It's Lumali. Lumali is the prison guard, because Bowser and Bowser Jr. have been put in prison by Star Fox. You know, he takes them to jail. And then he goes off to go back to his universe, leaving Bowser and Bowser Jr. in jail. And while Bowser Jr. is trying to dig an escape hole, because, you know, Bowser's just bones, Lumali shows up and is like, you do not know the levels of suffering I have prepared for you. So that's the first post-credit scene. The second post-credit scene is Daisy. Because obviously we're going to get Daisy in the next one. Like, no shit. People like Daisy. And yeah, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, those are some spoiler thoughts on the movie. Again, it's fun, but it's not good. And I don't... like, yes, there is going to be a third one. There's going to be a Donkey Kong movie. There's going to be a Luigi's Mansion movie. I hope Nintendo gets their shit together, but I don't expect them to get their shit together, sadly. I want it to happen, but if it doesn't, I sadly won't be surprised at this point. They broke my heart, because this is Mario Galaxy. Mario Galaxy is the fucking GOAT of games, and it's still the best 3D Mario game. But the movie should have that. It should have that level of love and respect. And I do kind of wish that we had gotten Mario World first, and then Galaxy. And Galaxy was like the climactic third one. But it is what it is. So what do I think the third one's going to be? So I do think we're going to get a Donkey Kong movie. That seems very obvious. You know, maybe it's Donkey Kong and an adult Pauline. Maybe because Pauline's in the first movie. Not for very long, but, you know, maybe it's her. Maybe there's a kid, you know. I could see them doing stuff from Donkey Kong Bonanza. I do fully expect Donkey Kong Bonanza. You know, maybe it's Donkey, Diddy, Dixie, a few others. With young Pauline, they go on a quest. They fight K. Rool. I could see them doing all that. So that's Donkey Kong. I do think we'd get a third Mario before we get a Luigi's Mansion. I do fully expect a Luigi's Mansion. But I think we get a third Mario. Like, I could see a Donkey Kong in the next, like, 2 years. And then Mario 3 and 3. So what do I want? Well, okay, here's the thing. Everything I say I want is on the assumption that the movie is good. Because there is a part of me that doesn't even want to suggest anything. Because anything I suggest, they will probably fuck up. But I'm going to suggest things anyways. So, I think the obvious plot thread to go on is that evil, mysterious force that wanted to take Peach and Rosalina's power, it's back. And it's come to take their power once again. Maybe it succeeds and it takes their power, and now, you know, Peach and Rosalina have to go get it back. I've seen the obvious thing is Tatonga, the villain from, you know, Super Mario Land. I'll be honest, I think Tatonga is very boring. Like, I know, you know, they have Wart in this movie. You could remove Wart from this movie and you'd lose nothing. But, like, Tatonga is like a Wart. He's a very nothing villain. He doesn't really do anything. I don't think he should be a main antagonist. Instead, I'd much rather see them lean into the RPGs. You know, do Cackletta. Do the Shroobs. You know, an actual threat. Or do the best Mario villain ever, Count Bleck. That's what I would want. That Count Bleck is trying to... Because in Super Paper Mario, the game Count Bleck is from, he has Peach and Bowser get married because Peach and Bowser's marriage fulfills a prophecy that creates, like, it's called, like, the Dark Heart or something like that in the Prognosticus, in the Dark Prognosticus. So I think you do that. You know, maybe instead of Peach and Bowser getting married, it's he steals Peach's and Rosalina's power to fulfill the prophecy in the Dark Prognosticus that makes, you know, the Dark Heart. So yeah, basically, yeah, have Count Bleck, and he fulfills the prophecy by stealing their power and creates the Dark Heart. This leaves Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Peach, and Rosalina to go on a quest where they have to get, like, the 7 light hearts or whatever the MacGuffin in Super Paper Mario is. And once they get that, you know, they can save the world. And along the way, you know, we meet Count Bleck's minions, Mimi, O'Chunks, Dimentio. Luigi gets kidnapped and turns into Mr. L. We meet Daisy, obviously, and, you know, Daisy and Luigi have a romance. Mario and Peach have more of a romance. Honestly, even just change the prophecy to, instead of Bowser and Peach get married, it's Mario and Peach get married. That'd be fun. They'd never do that, obviously. But yeah, make it... I could see them calling it Super Mario World. And or even Odyssey, like maybe like the movie starts with them going to like Daisy's Kingdom, and now they have to work their way back to the Mushroom Kingdom, and along the way, you know, they're facing all these obstacles, you know, we see different kingdoms, different places, like I said, Daisy shows up, Bowser and Bowser Jr. are back, you know, Bowser's back to normal, they put him back in the soup that fixes him, and he's got one of the MacGuffins. If we're doing Super Mario Odyssey, I mean, in the Odyssey, the book, the poem, they go to hell, send Mario to hell. Because guess what? That's what happens in Super Paper Mario. Mario and Luigi get sent to hell. Admittedly, it's called the Underwear, but it'd be the same thing. Yeah, just fucking adapt Super Paper Mario. Obviously, you know, you gotta change things a little bit. Early on, they meet Tippy. Like, Tippy is, you know, the little butterfly companion. That could be fun. There's a lot of potential for adapting Super Paper Mario. But I also don't want them to adapt Super Paper Mario, because I know they'll fuck it up. And I don't want to see them fuck it up. I want it to be done well. But, like, what are you gonna do? We know there's gonna be a third one. Like, obviously they haven't announced it yet, but give it a few weeks. I don't remember how long between the Mario movie coming out and the Mario Galaxy movie coming out, and, you know, Mario Galaxy being announced. Like, I know they didn't announce the Galaxy name for a while, but they definitely announced there was going to be a second one pretty quickly, and the fact that this movie has already, again, potentially tripled its budget is all the proof you need to know there's going to be a third one. And then I say, after you do a third one with Daisy, then you do Luigi's Mansion. And Luigi's Mansion, it's Luigi and Daisy. And they're saving Mario and Peach, who have been kidnapped. And maybe that, you know, maybe we get a new Luigi's Mansion game later this year, potentially, maybe next year, that has Luigi and Daisy working together. Like, maybe make her, like, a pivotal character. I don't know, that'd be cool. I have way more faith in the games than I do the movies at this point. But that's just me. And most other people. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I will probably see this movie again. Because, you know, the first Mario movie I've seen like a dozen times. Because while it is a flawed movie, I have a good time with it. I don't want to say it's a guilty pleasure. But I do have fun. And I do think this one's going to be the same way. if in like a year's time, once it's out on like DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, if I've seen it like a bunch of times, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll tell you, I'm gonna at least see it one more time in theaters. I am taking somebody else to go see it, like, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I will see this movie at least one more time. But I'm not... I don't know. I think the first one is just... It's not super more solid, but it is more solid. It's got more of its shit together. I'll at least give it that. Anything else? Any other thoughts? I don't know. That's kind of all I got. We talked about the movie for like an hour. That's to be expected. Alright, we got some, you know, since we started Captain Toad, I at least want to get through episode 1, which is not that long. So, I guess let's talk about some books, shall we? You know, I honestly expected it to take us just a little bit longer to beat Champions Road. Admittedly, I thought I had less to say. If only I hadn't talked about Landfall games, then I would have had more time. Whatever. And I am trying to collect every diamond. I know you technically don't need to. I mean, at least not for like how we're playing, because we're not doing 100%. This ain't like, you know, 3D Land where we were 100%ing this game. I'm not 100% Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Some of those later levels fucking suck, because this is another game where I have not 100%ed everything. I have not done the final mummy maze. That level fucking sucks to get everything on. Yeah, I'm not doing that. But we'll do a bunch of other stuff. Alright, so the first book I have to talk about is Hench. So this is a book written by... Ooh, my phone is almost dead. Oh, shit. This is a book written by Natalia Zena Walcotts. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this just kind of came through my feed where I was like, okay, I guess I'm kind of interested. You know, we were talking previously before I got into the Bobiverse about how I was reading all these superhero books. And this was one of those superhero books. And I was like, yeah, sure, fuck it, why not? So this book is about a girl named... Fuck, is it Anna or Anne? Oh my... It's been over 2 weeks since I've finished this. I just want, you know, we were going to talk about this last week, and I just kind of lost. You know, we were busy. Let me see if I can figure it out real quick. Okay, let's go with Anna. So it's about Anna, and she is a hench. You know, a henchman for supervillains. She specifically works for a temp agency where she gets hired to do, you know, the menial jobs that most supervillains don't want to do. Think stuff like data entry, you know, keeping track of like timesheets and whatnot. She doesn't do field work. You know, she's not a meat. She's not like, you know, a bodyguard or anything like that. She's a henchman. And so one day while working for this guy, they end up getting attacked by superheroes, specifically one named Super Collider. And this book kind of takes influence from stuff like The Boys. Like, I would compare Super Collider the most to someone like Homelander. It's obviously not exactly the same, but that's clearly what they're going for, is he's like he's like a Homelander, like this guy was raised in a test tube, you know, to be the ultimate superhero. But whereas like Homelander is like this crazy narcissist who, you know, thinks he's a god. Super Collider is a hero, like that's his whole thing. And his personality doesn't extend farther than that. It's, you know, all surface. If you take away him being a hero, he's nothing. And so Super Collider ends up, you know, Anna gets a job working at the field where, you know, she's just supposed to stand behind this villain and look pretty. And Super Collider busts in, you know, goes after the villain, and Anna's just standing there. And so Super Collider goes past her, grabs her by the leg, and throws her across the room. Now, of course, she has the excuse of like, oh, she was just, she was a temp, she was just hired there. They can't actually connect her to the supervillain she was working for. But her leg gets pretty fucked up. And, she's gonna need like a cane for the rest of her life. So with that, she's now stuck on the couch. She's living on her best friend's couch. She can't do any temp work. And so Anna starts wondering, like, hey, what is the true cost of superheroics? Like, yeah, the superheroics may save the day, but they're also kind of fucking, they've killed people, they've cost lives, they destroy property. Like, what is the true cost of superheroics? That's what she starts wondering. And so we get to see some of that. She makes, I think that, what do they call it? It's like the account, or she basically makes this document that keeps track of like how much property damage superheroes have done and how much they've cost in like people's lives. She compares them to like natural disasters. Like a superhero coming to your town to fight a villain is the same as like a tornado going through your town. And so with that, she compiles all this information on Super Collider, on other heroes, and this attracts the attention of the villain Leviathan, who, when Anna's ready to get back into the game, hires her. And so she gets a job working for him, in the same position as, like, data analysis. And she eventually gets a title as, like, the auditor. So she basically becomes she gets her own supervillain name. She's working with Leviathan. And it's not like she's, like, trying to destroy heroes. Her actual goal is she's, like, fucking with them in, like, petty, annoying ways. Not to, like, kill them or anything, but just to kind of, like, make their lives ever that much harder. So, like, she's, like, if you've seen, like, the 2025 Superman movie, she's running the Infinite Monkey Farm, posting, mean hate comments online. We get an early thing where they're touring, like, a new Supermax prison. And there's a machine that freezes superheroes, or supervillains, but it's supposed to be safe for superheroes. They mess with it to accidentally freeze a superhero. Not to, like, kill her, but just to, like, ruin her week. Because, it's just to, like, fuck with her, because she's indestructible. So it's, like, petty shit like that. Like, they go after this one hero who, his girlfriend, like, almost died or something. It was that guy. His girlfriend was the one who was frozen. And so now they're, like, fucking with him, and they try to, like, cause him to have a meltdown, cause collateral damage. They're fucking with heroes. They're not trying to kill them. They're just trying to, like, ruin their public image. And so that's the fun of it. I do like Anna, our main character. She's a villain, but she's not, like, evil. Like, at a certain point in the book, as they're trying to get Super Collider and finally destroy him, they go after his sidekick. I don't remember the sidekicks. It's like Excelsior or something like that. He's a speedster. And they accidentally kill the guy. Like, they put a hit out on him, but the hit backfires, and it accidentally gets him killed. And afterwards, Anna's, like, really fucked up about it, because they plan to, like, fuck with the kid, just to make Super Collider worse, but they didn't expect to actually kill him. They start working with Super Collider. They find out Super Collider's wife has been cheating on him, because their marriage is miserable. And so they expose the affair, but the affair partner gets killed. And not by them. At least, I don't think it was by them. But, so they end up actually working with Super Collider's wife. At a certain point, Leviathan fights Super Collider. And at one point, Anna gets kidnapped by him. And eventually they have this big fight. Leviathan loses. So now it's Anna on her own with, like, what remains of her team as they try to, like, put the pieces back together. That's when Super Collider's wife, whose name is, like, Quantum or something like that. Lady Quantum. It's something like that. and she ends up helping them out because she's kind of got like an Adam Eve style power set. She's actually pretty cool. There's a great scene near the end where, so Super Collider is, invulnerable. Like, he's got impervious skin, so nothing can, like, hurt him. But the wife, whose name, again, Quantum or something like that, in order to beat him, uses her, like, quantum powers to, like, push his leg through the back of his leg. On, like, the principle of, like, the only thing that can cut a diamond is another diamond. It's that same idea. Like, the only thing that can defeat someone who's indestructible is themselves. And it's, like, really fucked up. But it was also, like, a really cool scene. So I like all that. Anna herself, I think, is, again, we talked about Jazz from Artemis a few weeks ago, who was a very unlikable protagonist, even though I didn't hate her as much as other people did. Yeah, Anna's a lot more likable. Again, she hates Super Collider, but outside of that, she's not, like, evil. She's not, like, completely against working with heroes. She understands why they exist. She might be bisexual, because she definitely expresses that she has romantic feelings for Leviathan. And she talks about how she used to be in an abusive relationship. But she also does comment multiple times about how attractive some of the women are in the book. So I'm pretty sure she's bisexual. I can't confirm that, obviously, because they never go into too much details, but I'm pretty sure she is. I don't know, I like Dana. And then, after they rescue Leviathan, and then in the aftermath, they fuck up Super Collider. Like, they don't kill him, but they get pretty fucking close. And Leviathan, like, that's his arch nemesis. That's the Batman to his Joker. And so when he sees Super Collider's, like, mangled body on the verge of death, he just breaks down and starts, like, crying. Because, like, someone else defeated his arch nemesis. He wasn't good enough. And for a moment, it's like, oh yeah, that's a really good scene. Afterwards, because Anna was, like, about to ask him out. Now that's fucking dashed. And then the book ends with Leviathan finally, talking to Anna again and being like, yeah, Super Collider was just the top of the problem. Because we eventually get Leviathan's whole backstory, that he used to be a hero, but then, like, his mentor was barred from the Hero Association, which the Hero Association is called the Draft, because, in this world, once you get powers, you're drafted to become a superhero. At least if you're useful. And so, yeah, both Leviathan and Super Collider were drafted, but Leviathan's mentor was killed by Super Collider, and that's why the two fucking hate each other. Or at least that's why Leviathan hates Super Collider. And eventually, Super Collider's like, okay, well, we defeated him. Or Leviathan's like, okay, now that Super Collider's gone, now we have to take down the Draft. Every one of the superhero government people, they all need to be gone next. And that's where the book ends. So the book came out in 2020, so it's 5 years old. And if you know, one of the last superhero ones we read, where it came out a few years ago and then never got a sequel. I think that one came out like 2018, 2019. This one, however, does have a sequel that comes out in about a month. So I read this at just the right time, because in just a few weeks, we are going to have a sequel. Which is nice, that I have that to look forward to in a few weeks. I can't remember if it's right before or right after Dungeon Crawler Carl, The Parade of Horribles. But it's coming up soon, and I'm definitely there for that. It comes out May 19th, and I'm going to guess A Parade of Horribles is May 20th. Let's see. Parade of Horribles comes out May 12th, so it's a week before. Okay, that's good. That gives me time to read Carl. This Inevitable Ruin only took me like 7 days, so Parade of Horribles might potentially take me the same amount of time. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so that's definitely on the docket of something I will get to eventually. But yeah, so overall, I enjoyed the book. Out of all, like, the superhero books I've been reading recently, I would say this is maybe the easiest one to recommend. Because while I maybe did like Superworld more, I feel like there was more guff in that book that made it harder to recommend, whereas this one's a little bit more straightforward, it's more clear-cut. I do think this one's got some fun and some good moments in it that, you know, it can be serious, but it can be lighthearted. I like the idea of them just, like, fucking with superheroes. Not to, like, destroy them, but just to, like, ruin their day and make their, you know, heroics a little bit worse. That's good. That's good. Good shit. So yeah, I did enjoy this one. The second book I've read, which I read this week, and, you know, it was pretty short, was Assistant to the Villain. So in that description, you know, when I was looking at the description of Hench, it says, as if the boys met Assistant to the Villain. And I was like, okay, I haven't read Assistant to the Villain. Fuck it, I'll check that one out next. So this is a, so far, 3-book series, but book 4, I think, comes out, like, in a month or two. So this is a series, it's a fantasy, this isn't superheroes, this is fantasy, about a girl named Evie, it's Evangeline Sage, but her name's Evie. Oh, freak, am I? It's going good, you know, we've got a few levels left. And even... Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, there we go. How you doing, Kingcraft? Talking books right now. So, Assistant to the Villain is something that I had heard about. Again, I think I had heard about it even before the Hench recommendation. But I was like, yeah, okay, I'm curious. I'll be honest, I was very much expecting this to be one of those new adult spicy books. Where it's like, oh, it's this spicy romance about this girl who ends up working for this evil, you know, magical villain. And the two end up falling in love and they start dating. And eventually they have adult fun time and it gets spicy. You know, like most new adult romance. I was expecting ACOTAR, basically. You know, ACOTAR, but with a different coat of paint. Much to my surprise, this book never actually got spicy. They do mention multiple times, our main character Evie talks about how hot she finds the villain and that her favorite books to read are spicy romance. But at no point do the two ever, like, jump on each other, which did surprise me. The books, I don't want to say it's PG, because it's definitely not. But, like, it only says fuck once, which I also did not expect. But overall, I thought it was a fine book. It's definitely a little bit more cliche. It is definitely, you know, if you've read ACOTAR, it is a very similar vibe, which isn't always a bad thing, you know. I know I give ACOTAR a lot of shit despite never reading it. But... yeah, it's been fine. So Evie's working for this villain. His name is Tristan. He, you know, has the thing against the king. They're in this fantasy land. Everybody loves the king, but according to him, the king is evil. And, you know, Tristan, as the villain, does all this, like, heinous murder and these terrible crimes. And, you know, at first Evie's like, oh my god, I'm working for this villain. But she's like... the good part of him, where she's like, oh, you know, she's the Persephone to his Hades. Like, she's having them put, like, fire extinguishers in his evil lair. So that way he doesn't, like, burn it down or anything when he starts his fires. And, you know, the two develop romantic feelings for each other. You know, he's always loved her, and she, you know, can't admit it, but wants it. You know, she wants to hop on him so bad. And yeah, this one's definitely, you know, even though it's got the murder and whatnot, it is more lighthearted. It is trying to be more fun. I enjoyed it overall. I'm not going to act like it's anything amazing, but I get why people like it. You know, Evie's a likable enough character. She's doing, you know, she's working at this job to try to support her family because her father is sick. Her sister is rambunctious, you know, she's a little evil mastermind in training. Her brother is dead. Her mom abandoned them for, you know, killing the brother, as you find out. So, you know, they've got this whole complicated relationship. But I get Evie, you know, she's likable enough. We've got this whole work staff. There's Rebecca, the head of HR, who seems to be in romantic competition with Evie. We've got Blade Gushikin, who I only remember because his name is Blade Gushikin, who is a dragon tamer. There's a few other henchmen. You got Tatiana, who's the healer. You have Tristan, the villain, has a brother and a sister who, you know, both have complicated relationships with him. And, you know, because the Tatiana, the healer, used to date the sister, and, like, they have a whole complicated romance, but, like, you know, you see it develop as they get closer again. And there's another big underlying plot line as well. Yes, they're trying to, you know, fuck with the king and everything and destroy him. There's also a traitor in their midst, so they're trying to figure out who the traitor is and, you know, how he's able to get all their information. They go after these beasts that are... They're like these bat-like creatures. They're not... I want to say they're Guvras, but it reminds me of, like, Gudra. If you know, if these are a real thing in mythology, I would not at all be surprised if the Pokemon Gudra is based off of them. But they're these creatures with bat-like wings, and they cause misfortune. So, you know, they steal one, and then the female comes to rescue the male, and, you know, problems ensue. But eventually, the book ends with Tristan, who gets captured. And so now it's up to Evie to save him. Because as it turns out, the traitor was Evie's father. Because, you know, we find out, you know, before he got sick, Evie's father used to be a royal guard. But no, he actually never stopped being a royal guard. He's just been working in secret to defeat the villain. And Evie you know, he's been spying on Evie, like secretly copying all of her notes. And yeah, the father has been the traitor the whole time, and she just had no idea. But she eventually, you know, figures it out, you know, stops her own father. He goes to jail, or he gets captured by the villain, but then the villain immediately gets arrested right afterwards. And yeah, it's... Like I said, I had a good time with it. It's not the best thing I've ever read, but it also definitely ain't the worst. I'll give you that one. So that the first one is the first one is assistant to the villain. The second one is apprentice to the villain, which picks up directly where the first one leaves off. And I've been reading that one. It's also okay. You know, it's a lot of the same. It's the same characters dealing with similar struggles. As you know, they pick up directly where they left off. But now, you know, we find out more about the king and what he wants, and how there's this whole prophecy that will, you know, save the magic, because magic is dying in this world. But no, as it turns out, it'll just give him, like, control of the magic and control of the kingdom. And there's all sorts of other complications. But yeah, you know, I will finish the second one. I'm, like, halfway through it. And then I'll probably read the third one. And the fourth one comes out sometime soonish. I was going to look, but it's giving me... And I've been listening to all of these on Audible. The next one comes out... Adversary to the Villain. Comes out in August. So that's a ways away. For a second, I thought it was April. Like the end of April. But no. But yeah, so far, you know, I'm enjoying it. It's a book to read. Anything else? Do I have anything else? On that book, anyways. So what else? I beat Mario Wonder. I did 100% it. I got all the, you know, I did all the levels. I got all the 10 coins. I got all the top of the flagpoles. I got all the badges. I did everything. And then I did the final challenge. I did the final challenge, which was a pain in the ass. I finally figured out to get the, there's these new dual badges. And I was wondering, like, where do you get them? In the Bella Bell Park, there are these flowers you can water. And by watering those flowers, they'll give you, like, instruments and flowers and whatnot. But they'll also give you the double badges. I did it at, like, the very end of the game. I recommend you do it earlier than that. Because, you know, the double badges combine 2 badges. So, like, some of them are pretty useful, you know. The one that gives you both, like, what is it, like, double jump and spin? Like, that's very useful. But the one that gives you spring and invisibility, that's the hardest thing you could get. But there are some useful badges in there. There's also the the Toad Brigade challenges. I have not finished them. There's over 60 of them. They do get very difficult near the end. Oh my gosh, some of them get really difficult. You know, people want Mario games to be harder. Yeah, you know, the main game may not be super hard, except for, like, the final challenge. These Toad Brigade missions start off pretty easy, but by the end, they do get fucking difficult. And I definitely did have my struggles with some of these Toad Brigade missions. Oh my gosh. And I have not finished them. I have not. There are some where you have to, like, beat the level without getting any coins, beat the level without hitting any enemies, that are fucking hard, that give you certain, like, power-ups and certain conditions. It is not easy. Not easy at all. I don't know how much more I'm going to put into it. I don't know if I'm going to do all of them. But so far, you know, it's a good time. It's Mario Wonder. I don't know. I don't know what I want from more Mario. I do want more Mario. You know what I do want? I want another one of these. I think we talked about this last week. Give me another Captain Toad, man. Give me Captain Toad Wonder Explorer. Use the Wonder Flowers. Use the Bird Plucky. Again, I think we talked all about this last week. But since then, I have been craving a new Captain Toad. So I literally downloaded it on the Switch 2, just so we could play it again. Oh my gosh. This is such an underrated gem. And the idea, it definitely needs... There's so much more you can do with it. So I really do hope we get more, because it deserves it. God, this game's fun. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. So our last gym is in there. Just a question of how do we get in there? Oh, we can just use the... Okay. That's easy. Anything else? I haven't been playing Pokopia. Animal... It's just... Man, if only Nintendo hadn't released 3 life sims right next to each other. Tomodachi Life, Pokopia, and the Animal Crossing 3.0 update. Because I'm just been putting all my time into Animal Crossing. Admittedly, it's only like 20-30 minutes a day. But that shit adds up, man. It does. But I'm still having fun. I got a new villager, Walker, who is the dog. He's cute. I like him. I put him on the thumbnail last week, because I could. So, yeah. But yeah, I had a bad turnip harvest this week. I had a decreasing price. I had to sell at, like... I think I bought them for, like, 90-something, and I sold them for, like, 60 a pop. So I lost, like, a bunch of money. But in the end, you know, I'm gonna... My goal is tomorrow I want to buy, like... I have over $2 million bells in the bank. So I can see myself spending 2 million, or at least 1 million of those bells. Because, you know, the chance of having a good stock price this week is good. But we'll see. I don't know, I do kind of miss having all the money in the world. Because on the first save file, I had like 87 million bells. Yeah. Luckily, storage isn't an issue anymore, because I have not paid off the house. I've just kind of left it there. I had the money, but yeah, no, I've been having a good time. I've been working on my collection. I finished the fossil collection today, because it was driving me crazy, because I walked around the museum, and it was like, it looked like I had everything. You know, it did. So I was like, what am I missing? And then I finally figured it out. And like, I figured it out like 2 days ago. And then today it finally showed up. So I finished the fossil collection. I was only missing Copperlight. Which, if you know what that is, yeah, that's a funny one to be missing. But I got that. I had every other fossil. I'm still missing a Spino tail. I have my own like personal collection. And I've got the Spino head, I've got the body, but I'm missing the tail. And that one's been even harder to get, surprisingly. But other than that, I've done everything else. Working on fish, working on bugs. But that is, I finally got the marlin. Because the marlin and the tuna go away at the end of the month. And while the marlin comes back in like 2 months, the tuna doesn't come back until like November. So I've got to get the tuna, but I was able to get the marlin today, so I at least have that. Because I realized fishing on the docks is easier now, because whereas before you had to make like bait, now you can just go in and outside of the hotel. Because the hotel is on the docks, it resets the dock spawn. And so while it's not like quicker, it does save you a lot more time of having to get fish bait. But to be fair, that is also easier because of multi-crafting now. Multi-crafting makes fish bait a lot easier to get. Anything else I'm working on? No. Not really. Like I said, if we talk more about the Mario Galaxy movie next week, I would not be surprised. Because I do think I'll see it at least one more time. I don't know, it's been a weird week. Like, it feels like I did nothing this week. Like, I wanted to get, like, so much done. And all I did was, Mario movie. That consumed my ever-waking thoughts for, like, the past, like, 3 days. I don't know. We went, like, an hour longer than I thought we were going to tonight. Because once we do this, we're done. Anything else? I can't think of anything else. I'm sure there is other stuff that I'm just forgetting. I don't know, so now that we got Star Fox in the Mario movie, and the rumor is we're gonna get a Star Fox announcement, I do see that happening, not on like a Nintendo Direct, but on a Twitter Direct, sometime in the next like 2 weeks. I think we're getting a Nintendo Direct in June. But before that, I think we're gonna get a Twitter Direct in like the next few weeks. That's like, hey, Splatoon 3 Switch 2 Edition. Pikmin Switch 2 Edition. Here's some new footage for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. Here's Star Fox, That could be a Twitter Direct. You know what, I did see someone speculate. And again, they claim to be, someone who previously worked at Nintendo. Couldn't be true. I'm not entirely sure. But they speculated the reason why Nintendo is decreasing the prices of digital games is because they're trying to offset the price that that the console is going up in. So, the PlayStation 5 went up about $100 in price. And it looks like both the Xbox and the Switch 2 are probably going to suffer the same fate here sooner or later. So the idea is that, you know, because Nintendo can afford to make digital games cheaper, they're doing that so that way, when the Switch 2 goes up in price, more people would be willing to get a Switch 2 because the digital games are cheaper. I think that makes sense. I understand that argument. I could see where they're coming from there. Because unlike other companies that will lose money selling a console where they make money buying a game, Nintendo makes money on the console and the game. It makes sense. I see the argument. How true is it actually? I don't know, but I think it makes sense. And hey, we saved Toadette. There's another character I could see being in the third Mario movie, Toadette. Because, I mean, the Toad in the Mario movie is basically Captain Toad. They don't call him Captain Toad, but he's basically Captain Toad. Anything else? My phone's almost dead. I think that's it. I guess that takes us to our outro. So one thing I tell you we will not be doing, because I looked at it. There was a new Minecraft update like a week ago. And I looked at it and was like, oh, are we going to do, you know, a Minecraft achievement hunt or maybe a no achievement hunt? And I thought about it and was like, you know, I don't really want to. I don't really want to do an achievement or a no achievement hunt. For baby animal, like if there had been an achievement for like, give a baby animal a golden dandelion, I would have been like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. You know, it'll be a simple like 1 hour stream. But the fact that there isn't anything new and the next update adds in a whole new biome, I think we're just going to wait for that. I'm fine skipping over some stuff. I don't know, I did boot up Minecraft and I played around a little bit. I don't know, Minecraft is still like the biggest game in the world. And I've just maybe played it too much. Because it is, I've put over 1,000 hours, which I know for some people is nothing. But for me, that's crazy. And yeah, I'm good. I don't know what else I'd do. Like, at least the Sulfur Caves give me an excuse to do, like, to try new stuff. Whereas baby animals, like what? I make an automatic chicken farm? Woo, I don't use potatoes for once. I don't know. But yeah, so we're not doing that. I really don't have anything else planned. I mean, we're going to continue with Captain Toad next week. You know, this is episode 1. There are 3 episodes and then a DLC episode as well. So we'll probably go through all of that. Because just because we rolled credits, we're not over yet. We're done for tonight. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Hopefully there'll be more stuff, you know, maybe there'll be more news. If not, we did finally find out, you know, they did confirm, hey, Summer Games Fest is this day, the Xbox Showcase is this game, and Gears of War is that day. So that's also coming up in the soon-to-be future. But yeah. Oh, see, there's the DLC. I remember I bought the DLC before I bought the game. But that's a story for another day. Because, yeah, we have Let's Played Captain Toad before, a long time ago. But yeah, hey, I beat Champions Row tonight, you know. I had never done that before. It took me about 2 hours, which is what I had hoped for. Like, I feel like, because last time we did it, I feel like we got close within that 2 hours. And I just was getting frustrated. I felt a lot more relaxed today. You know, I had my frustrations going to other places. So it made sense. Yeah, next week we'll be back with more of that, and we'll do whatever else. I don't know. At some point I gotta do Pokopia. Not on stream, but like off stream. But then we got Tomodachi Life in 2 weeks, and once Tomodachi Life comes in, fucking Animal Crossing's gone. Like, who cares about Animal Crossing? We got Tomodachi Life. I'm so excited. People have been able to squeeze so much out of the demo. I know the full game's gonna leak any day now, if it hasn't already. But I'm so ready for Tomodachi Life. That game is gonna be so good. And then over the summer, you know, potentially Splatoon Raiders, Star Fox, Rhythm Heaven, hopefully. We got so much. But that's where we're going to end off for tonight. We'll be back next week. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.